Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Tuesday, September 16th. We are back on the second day of actually being home and being consistent, and we are live. I am so excited to get back into the routine, and I hope everyone is doing well. We have the Market Open, Market Close yesterday. We will have the Market Open, Market Close today. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to just, once you lose your routine, I feel like everyone can relate to this. You're just so excited to get that routine back. And we are officially back. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, a bunch of things that have happened over the past 24 hours. I mean, yesterday was a pretty wild day in regards to a variety of macro and stock specific headlines. Today, that continues. We have a couple of pieces of macro updates that we'll talk about, but we also have some stocks that are trading in a pretty interesting way in relationship to some of the news that has come out over the past 24 hours. Elon tweeted some things this morning, which we'll talk about as well. That is important. We also have U.S. retail sales, which is very important. That's one of the big pieces of macro data we got this morning at 8:30 that we will talk about, which is actually pretty good and probably why the markets are doing not too bad in the pre-markets. And then yesterday we hit an all-time high on the S&P 500, which was also really nice to see because obviously the first 2 weeks of September have been pretty good relative to historically what the first 2 weeks of September look like. We looked at a couple charts yesterday that said the last 2 weeks of September kind of suck. We're in those last 2 weeks. Yesterday was the beginning of those last 2 weeks. And we're going to see if that one ends up playing out. By the way, guys, I didn't do anything to my Robinhood Legend, but overnight, does it look kind of different to you guys? I got the green and red candles. I saw some of you guys on Twitter having the green and red candles. You know how the other ones used to be like pink and like yellow. This looks so much better. And I think it used to have like a yellow background. Now it's like almost fully black. So this looks way better. Like I just loaded it up 5 minutes before I went live and I was like, holy crap, this is pretty different. So there you go. Legend slowly improving as we continue to use it, and we'll see some of the more updates that we get hopefully in the coming weeks as they kind of fix some of the issues that I had with Legend. So there we go. Let's get into it. Good morning. Thank you everybody for being here. Mr. Derek Wall, thank you for the $500 super chat. Appreciate you, Derek. I was on the phone with Derek last night. Thank you for the super chat. He says Figure AI. So Brett Adcock, the CEO of Figure, which is one of the largest humanoid robotics companies. Last night, he tweeted, Figure has 3 big announcements coming, one each day for the next 3 days. We're full throttle to human-level intelligence. I guess we're going to get some big announcements. Now, I know I'm an investor in the company, but I have no information on what the announcements are going to be. So I will be surprised, just like you guys will be, when you get these announcements or when we see these announcements. Hopefully, we'll get it during the market open. But 3 announcements, one each day for the next 3 days. I'm assuming it would have to do something with like either an explanation on their production or their uptime or some of those core metrics that you care about for a robotics company. And so hopefully we get some new videos too, but we'll be very excited to see Figure's progress. And we're going to kind of see what this ends up playing out for Brett Adcock. So, okay, they're not IPOing that I can say confidently, like I think they have enough money, and I don't think they want to IPO a couple years after raising their Series B. I think they're going to take their time to IPO, and they're going to do it the right way. But I think that IPO is probably going to be worth a couple $100 billion, if not more, if they end up, doing what they need to do. So we are going to see. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. RF Andy, what's up? Bling, what's up? Gabriel, June, Sir Benny, what's up? Shriram, thank you for being here. Christopher, Michael, Tim. Thank you all. Bolu, Yeezy, we got Kanye West in the chat. That's incredible. Thank you all for being here. Chad Ritter, Benham, Netanel, I'm Benny, Samir, Charles, Osiris. We are once again back for the market open. Now, I know this is not the official studio. Again, once I get upstairs fixed out, we did the market close there yesterday, and it's getting close to being fully fixed upstairs. We will, starting next week, have all the market opens and market closes there. It's just until we get that kind of fixed up. I thought I would be able to fix it up in the first 2 weeks of September, but then all this traveling just like made it impossible. But Yeah, by next week we'll be there. Also, the daily recaps, a lot of you guys have been asking for that. That will be coming back in October. I know a lot of people have been saying, hey, where's that like 15-minute recap you do throughout the day? Because I don't have time to watch the entire market close. October, that is coming back. And probably around like 7:30, 8 p.m. Eastern every day, we'll release that daily recap. For some of you internationally, you'll be waking up to that recap. And so that will be out starting in October as well. All right, so let's get into it. I think before we get started, well, actually, no, let's get started with this tweet, and then we'll see Bessent because he was on CNBC this morning. Elon bought $1 billion worth of Tesla on Friday. Stock went up $100 billion in market cap. Tesla right now in the pre-markets is at 415, not doing too bad, up about 1.2%, up 7% from yesterday. Elon said, Daddy is very much home. And burning the midnight oil with Optimus Engineering on Friday night, then red-eye overnight to Austin, arriving 5 a.m., wake up to have lunch with my kids, and then spend all Saturday afternoon in deep technical reviews for the Tesla AI5 chip design, fly to Colossus 2 on Monday to walk the whole data center floor, review transformers and power production, excellent progress, depart at midnight, then up to 12 hours of back-to-back meetings across all Tesla departments, but particular focus on AI, autopilot, Optimus production plans. And this was a response to someone who is basically saying, I'm so happy that Elon's focusing on Tesla. And Elon doubled down by saying that Daddy is very much home. When you see a tweet like that, it definitely reminds you like how hard some people really work to be successful. And, you know, with Elon and all the different companies he's managing and all the pressure he has, and that one of those companies being one of the biggest companies that's public, like it's a lot for him to navigate and manage. And I think in some respect, for anyone who's ambitious, you just think, oh man, I could be working harder. I could be doing even more. But for the Tesla shareholders, it's really nice to see, because at this age and stage of his life, Elon, it seems like from this tweet, is still motivated, unless something changed next week and he starts tweeting about politics and tries to become president again. Like, it seems like he's geared in on Tesla. He cares about Tesla. He wants Tesla to succeed. He wants Tesla to be taken to the next level. He tweeted again about the stock price this morning, just like another $69.42 picture. So he's having fun with it. He quote tweeted the Tim Waltz bottom, which I'm sorry, the Tim Waltz bottom is just hilarious, bro. Tim Waltz literally, like literally the day of this, Tesla bottomed, and that's what Elon quote tweeted.
I know some of you know this on the iPhone. They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know, and take out. Just telling you. Saying on my phone, I know some of you know this on the iPhone.
I mean, look, he said it at the bottom, and Elon said, well, looks like that wasn't exactly the bottom, or that was the bottom, but that wasn't going to stay at the bottom. So yeah, Elon's having fun with it. And I think if you're a Tesla shareholder that has not participated in this rally over the past couple of months, you should be having fun with it as well. Question is just, can it maintain that momentum? Yeah, as Ray says, it's up 89% since that tweet, which is, you know, definitely becoming a bottom indicator. As Tim Waltz said, that Tesla is going to keep going down. I did not change the colors in my legend. I thought it was possible to do, but it just got upgraded for me. I don't think there's a set. I mean, I tried to change it a couple weeks ago when I saw people on Twitter like tweeting pictures of their legend with black and red or green and red. And I couldn't. So I think you have to be upgraded. So I'm pretty sure they're rolling it out to a lot of people, but it just looks so much better, bro. Like, we actually have green and red candles now. We actually, like, the quick story on this is that, so again, I voiced some of my concerns about Legend publicly, right? And I told you guys, like, hey, there's certain parts of Legend that I'm not liking, and it makes it hard to stream compared to something like Webull. Let's just say Vlad heard those concerns. He definitely heard those concerns. And while I was at the event, I had multiple employees come up to me. Someone from the design part, someone from the product part, someone from this, someone from that. They came up to me, like, in particular, and they were like, hey, so Vlad told me to go find you and asked me to ask you how the hell to make sure that we make sure you never use anything else besides Legend. And it was hilarious to me because it's like, one, you know, they care so much about like the product and like me as someone who's advocating for the company being able to actually use their product. And I had some legitimate concerns about that. But B, they were relentless, bro. They were relentless. By the way, S&P 500 new all-time highs in the pre-market, 661.48. I mean, these employees were like, hey, like, we really need to know what you're missing, what's not working. And like, we can't leave until you actually explain what we need to do. I mean, and that level of motivation, dedication, folks. I actually talked to the Wall Street Journal yesterday. The Wall Street Journal is doing a piece on Vlad, I guess is what you call it. They're doing like a, not like a biography or something, but just like a piece on like Vlad and his journey over the past couple of years. And I was one of the people they interviewed, and she was basically asking me like what is it about him that is so exciting to the broader market? And I was like, his relentless focus on putting out products that people will use and not stopping until people use those products. I mean, quite frankly, I think the reason Chris was invited to the Vegas event is because he tagged Vlad in a tweet and said he was going long Webull because he likes Webull's charts better than Robinhood. And I think Vlad saw that and was like, get this guy to the event. We got to do some changing of the minds. And so I just think they're so unbelievably focused and motivated to get people to care about this product. And the fact that multiple employees came up to me and legitimately listened to my concerns, because sometimes it's really hard. Like the after hours thing is my biggest issue. Like, it doesn't show you the price increase or decrease after hours. It merges with the price intraday. And that makes it really hard during earnings to say the accurate price of a stock going up or down. And so things like that, they really focused on. And then I did tell them, hey, like the pink and yellow candles look disgusting. Like, we really need some better colors here. And looks like some of that stuff is changing as well. So that's what we got there. S&P 500, 661. Here's Bessent this morning talking a little bit more about trade and tariffs. Again, the tariff issues have not been the biggest issues over the past couple of weeks, given PPI came in better than expected. But here's what Bessent had to say this morning when he was asked about it.
Want to be energy dominant, and all that's got to come from deregulation. And I think the market likes that. I think the markets are also looking through and seeing that the president's tariffs, contrary to what everyone said in April, we're now getting research reports from major Wall Street banks. Barclays had a very good report about 10 days ago that said that the U.S. bond market is performing very well because of the revenue from tariffs. Tariffs were supposed to destroy the U.S. bond market, and instead we're going to take in hundreds of billions of dollars this year to pay down the debt.
How do you think that?
By the way, the 10-year, it's not below 3 yet, but it's at 4.05, was at 4.2 yesterday. Tariffs objectively have not destroyed the bond market. Bond yields, at least on the 10-year, were 4.8. 4.803 on January 14th. They're now at 4.05. So the cost of borrowing is coming down. And if that thing can get below 3, the refinancing of our debt won't be the worst in the world either.
Plays out, Mr. Secretary. Have you had conversations about what to do if the Supreme Court upholds some of those decisions about the tariffs? Are there other avenues that are you involved in trying to figure out what the next step would be?
Joe, I'm confident that the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the administration. I think the law is on our side. I think historically that the Supreme Court is very reluctant to overrule a president's signature policy, and President Trump's 2 signature policies. The first is the border, where he has closed the border. They said it couldn't be done, and the Supreme Court has gone along with all the immigration rulings, despite what the lower courts have done. And I think we're seeing here the lower courts are trying to stop this, and I'm confident we'll see it in the Supreme Court. And there are lots of other authorities we can use, but I am confident that we will prevail with the IEEPA lawsuit.
So basically, Bessent saying, hey, the tariffs are not bankrupting the country. They are not hurting bond yields. And the Supreme Court, based on this potential district appeals court that said the tariffs are illegal, the Supreme Court will likely reverse it and it'll go to their side. I think he's right about that. I think the Supreme Court, just given the magnitude of how much the tariffs have affected the broader economy and the deals we've gotten from the tariffs, all this, I think it's going to be very hard for the Supreme Court to reverse all of that and have it go back to normal. I just think that the political backlash from that would be pretty heavy. So I don't know, dude. If it does happen, maybe the markets would rally because no more tariffs. But all these deals that we've negotiated with Japan and the ones we're in the middle of with China and the UK, I don't know. I think it's gonna be hard to see if that ends up playing out. Dougie, thank you for the gifted 5 memberships. Appreciate that. Doug said we are so lucky to be living in the world of Elon and Vlad. That's what I told the reporter yesterday on the Wall Street Journal. I was like, I think Vlad, when he's older, I mean, he's only 38 right now. Like he already has 2 companies. One is an AI company. One is Robinhood. I think he's gonna have multiple companies into his 50s and 60s like Elon. He might become one of the greatest founders of all time. He really might. A lot of execution is left, but yesterday's podcast with Tanner and Roy was based on the idea of could Robinhood get to $1 trillion? And if it does, by the sheer fact of they've democratized financial services for hundreds of millions of people because they're going international, it's not just going to be in the United States. So this really could be a global financial product. Then obviously that would be a massive, massive part of his legacy. And it could definitely be something that puts him in the conversation for greatest founders of all time. And then Falling Knife, thank you again for the $200 super chat. You're very kind. You do not have to do that every single day, but I appreciate you. Thank you for being here, Falling Knife. And thank you for the $200 super chat. Someone said, is BBB now Falling Knife? No, Falling Knife is actually a different person. I've talked to them before. But they are very, very kind for that super chat. Okay, retail sales. Here we go. We got a big beat. August came in at 0.6% month over month, above expectations of 0.2% month over month. Again, it's really hard to deny some of that momentum in the economy. The only kind of core macro thing that I'm seeing, which is a red flag, is the labor market. Everything else, whether it's retail sales, whether it's CPI, PPI, it's either beating expectations or it's coming in line with expectations or missing expectations in the right way to the downside, which is helping the broader market along with corporate earnings maintain its momentum. The labor market is where everything cracks if we start to see just massive, massive job losses, because at that point, retail sales will probably go down. Inflation will probably go down, but for the wrong reasons. And as of now, I'm not necessarily seeing that. So until we get the data that proves that that is the worst thing in the world, then I think the market continues to climb forward, which is why we're likely seeing momentum on the broader indices. And you got the Fed meeting tomorrow, which is going to be really exciting. Let's actually do a poll right here and see what people think. No one gets excited for Jay Powell speaking about 25 or 50 outside of us. Like none of your friends or family probably even cares about this, but we do, which makes it fun. What will Powell do tomorrow? 25 bips, 50 bips, no cut. What do we think? I think it's obvious it's going to be 25. 96% chance it's going to be 25. I just wonder if we sell off on that news or if like it's done, the market's happy, we get to move forward and the market says, all right, we got the biggest thing out of the way, which is getting that September cut. And I kind of think it's the latter versus the former. But we're going to have to see kind of what happens tomorrow. So yeah, retail and consumer so far seems to be okay. And as long as retail and consumer continues to be okay, then I think we're not in the worst position. Oracle right here, 315, Oracle up 4% on the day. Again, Oracle surged to 350, then came back down to 290. It's kind of a wonky week going up and down, but it is up a lot from 230, obviously because of the RPO growth that they showed. And that is what's giving Oracle some more momentum. And going back to this argument about, hey, like a lot of people saying that the market's a bit expensive, maybe it's a little bubbly. I know we've kind of beaten this argument down so strongly over the past couple of weeks. But once again, this is the forward PE of Mag 7 stocks as per yesterday's prices. Google's at 24, still feels pretty damn cheap. Meta's at 27, not that more expensive than Google. Apple's at 31, they're not growing that much, but you know, it's Apple. Microsoft at 32, Amazon at 34. If Amazon can get their operating margins up, I think that PE will start to go down as well. Nvidia at 39, but again, Nvidia is just growing faster than any of the companies, pretty much any company, you know, on the street, especially at that size. And then Tesla's at 233. So obviously you're paying a pretty aggressive premium for Tesla, which it is what it is. Like before this recent run, it was at like 150. So it's not like Tesla's that expensive from where it was before, because it's always been expensive. But the point is, these are the most important companies in the world, and these are not the most expensive companies in the world either. Which, once again, if we're going to end out the year in the right way, we need to make sure that these companies continue to have reasonable PEs and it doesn't get out of hand. And it doesn't feel like it's getting out of hand. Now, this picture went viral over the weekend as well. This is comparing Cisco to NVIDIA. And as you can see on the screen, Cisco's price went up, but their earnings did not go up. So the blue line is their price, and the orange line is their earnings. As you can see in 2000, the price went up a lot. The earnings did not match the trajectory of the price. Therefore, there was a bubble. The price collapsed, and then the earnings kind of subdued with the price. With NVIDIA, I mean, again, I don't know how anyone sees the blue line, which is the price, and then the orange line, which is the earnings, which is pretty much matching 1-to-1 with the price. It's hard to be like, oh, bubble. That's not real. Now, if the earnings were flat like Cisco, then that would be bubblish, but that's just not the case. So I think people are still trying to make that AI doomerism argument that all this CapEx infrastructure, all this stuff is BS. It's not going to work. I think we haven't even tapped yet 3 of the major verticals, which is FSD, self-driving in general, humanoid robotics, which hopefully we'll get an announcement from Figure today about what they're doing, and personal AI agents. If that stuff comes into fruition, I think we got a long runway, like a really long runway. And so the question is just going to be when that plays out and if that plays out. But so far it doesn't seem like that's going in a bad way. Yes, Palantir is expensive. Speaking of Palantir today, they got another partnership. But again, Palantir has always been expensive. So Palantir continued to extend their partnership with Babcock. So for those that don't know Babcock, it is a UK defense company. And this is part of the Warp Speed initiative from Palantir. We covered this back in September of 2023. This is when Palantir got a deal with the defense ministry in the UK. And then they allowed that, they extended that partnership with Babcock. And Palantir said right here, by combining Babcock's engineering expertise with Palantir Warp Speed platform's unparalleled data capabilities, we're executing a smarter, faster, more resilient form of naval production that adapts dynamically to market conditions and the evolving needs of our customers. So it has to do with ships. They also have a partnership with HHI in South Korea around manufacturing ships. So it is really nice to see this because Babcock is one of the major defense manufacturers and contractors in Europe, or in the UK, I should say. And HHI is doing that for South Korea. So you're starting to see Palantir just really get these sophisticated, deepened partnerships. And that hopefully should increase top-line revenue growth, particularly in the international segments of their business, which has been lacking so far. And more of these partnerships gives us a chance to get there. So that is what we got for Palantir. Oh, do we have the figure news? Is it out? Is it out? Let's see. I think the figure news is out. Oh, yeah, it is out. There you go. All right, it's live, folks. Figure has exceeded $1 billion in funding and raised at a $39 billion valuation.
Figure's goal is to solve general robotics. This is a really hard problem.
Okay, there you go. $1 billion of funding for Figure AI. We got some more details right here. The round was led by Parkway Venture Capital with significant investments from Brookfield, NVIDIA, Macquarie, Intel, Align Ventures, Tamarack Global, LG Technologies, Salesforce, T-Mobile, and Qualcomm. This new funding will support Figure's momentum across 3 core areas: scaling humanoid robots, building next-generation GPU infrastructure, launching advanced data collection efforts for Felix. And then they have a press release on the valuation or the actual fundraise itself. Cool. So this is a big deal for a lot of different reasons. Number one is if you are an NVIDIA shareholder, robotics are going to be the next vertical. And the next vertical, and you know, this is not me saying this. Jensen has been saying this for really the past 2 quarters. He's been trying to convince investors that the next S-curve of what will cause the massive CapEx that they're going to need or that they're going to be able to supply is the demand for humanoid robots, because all these robots, as Brett said in that press release, will need GPUs. And so from that perspective, it's big for NVIDIA. It's big for a lot of the semiconductor plays outside of NVIDIA that are helping NVIDIA build those GPUs in the first place. So the ASMLs, the Micron, all those chips still need the same things that regular GPUs need for data centers. And it's going to be the same for robotics. Number 2, it goes to show, and this is actually the dichotomy of startups, which is either Figure is massively overvalued at a $40 billion valuation, or the TAM is so large that $40 billion is going to look cheap in 5 years, hopefully, when they IPO. And so it's either going to be one or the other, right? Startups either win or they fail. And at this valuation, at 40 billion, it is one of the most expensive or one of the most valuable private startups on the planet. And to me, the reason I think the valuation could be justified is simply because they're attacking a TAM that is global labor, which is an $80 trillion market. So, I mean, the reason I invested in them, the reason, thankfully, Derek got me into that deal back in February of 2024, invested at a $2 billion valuation. So now at 40 billion, that is a 20x. And I really do think I'm not going to sell this stock for the next 20 years. I think this is either holding Apple for humanoid robots and it's going to really work, or it's going to be one of those investments that did well, but it didn't really become a generational investment. And I don't know what it looks like, but from my understanding of the company and their progress on just how fast they're moving, I think it has a chance to become that Apple of humanoid robots type of investment. So we're going to see. We're going to see how this one ends up playing out. But I do think they will go public at $300-400 billion in the next 5 years if they're able to put up the growth, which would be one of the most expensive IPOs ever, or one of the most valuable IPOs ever. But again, they're going to have to put up the growth, right? They're going to have to put up metrics. They're going to have to get hundreds of customers. They're going to have to get tens and tens of billions of dollars of revenue. I mean, if they're raising at 40 billion, I would imagine they believe they can do the tens of billions of revenue already. And if they think they can get that already, it technically isn't that cheap. It's just they don't have any revenue yet, or at least no revenue that's reported. I don't know if they have any revenue. So the question then becomes, how much revenue does the company have? And whatever they told investors who invested in the Series C have to have some assumption that they're definitely very close to making a lot of money, or the trajectory for them to make money is not far away if they're willing to pay $40 billion for the company. Now, the final implication is, what does it mean for Tesla? So my opinion on this is I still think Tesla's the winner here because Tesla has the ability to manufacture and figure. I mean, they just haven't proven to us they can make 100,000 robots in a month. Tesla, I think, could. I think Tesla could. I mean, I don't know if Tesla could, but just given Elon's ability to manufacture cars and his experience with supply chains, I think he could. So the question then becomes, okay, if Tesla has a manufacturing edge, does Tesla have an AI edge that is significantly better, particularly for humanoid robots, than Figure does? I don't know. I mean, we're going to see. We are going to see. But it definitely does make me feel like the market is going to start valuing the idea of humanoid robots a lot more. And also, if you're a Tesla shareholder, I mean, if Figure is getting a $40 billion valuation, what part of Tesla's $1 trillion valuation has to do with robots? A lot, you would think a decent amount of it, but a lot of these analysts, like Kathy, she doesn't even think about the robots. Morgan Stanley barely thinks about the robots. So if you add in robots, maybe that makes that valuation even more rich just based on the pure TAM that Tesla can go after, which if Tesla does solve, I mean, who knows? Maybe this thing really does get to 10, 20 trillion like Elon's been talking about, or it at least justifies the current valuation, which I know people think is expensive, if the robots start becoming a sum of the parts thesis for Tesla. And we just have to see how that plays out. The Figure stock that went public last week is a bank or is a blockchain lending company. It is not the actual robot company. The robot company just announced a $39 billion fundraising round. Some news on Oracle. Well, now we know why Oracle was up 4%. Oracle will keep TikTok under the new agreement that the United States agreed on with China. Again, there was a framework that was established with China yesterday in Madrid. Bessent was meeting with a bunch of these people from the Chinese government. It looks like Oracle is going to be keeping TikTok Cloud's deal. Oracle was managing their cloud services, I think, since 2020. Trump said that they did not want to get rid of TikTok, and it looks like as a result of not getting rid of TikTok, Oracle continues to keep that deal, which is probably a massive contract for Oracle. So there you go. Not too bad. Looks like TikTok stays with Oracle, and Oracle continues to get that revenue from TikTok. S&P 500 right there, 661. NVIDIA 177. Tesla 417. Hoodie 115. That's up a little bit. Palantir 170. Grabby grab. I mean, yesterday was pretty exciting for grab. Seeing it go down to 560, then come back to life within really minutes and close above 615. It was another 100 million share volume day. It was another close above 6. It was a close at a 52-week high, or basically a 4-year high at 615. And it was a very quick intraday recovery, which got me to think, all right, when it fell to 560, there was enough people that stepped in and was like, nope, we are not letting it fall this low. We are buying this dip. And immediately, literally within 5 minutes, it recovered. So today's the third day in a row. We'll see. I'm not too greedy. I would just like it to close above 6. I would really just like it to close above 6. If we can keep the normalizing the 6s and we're out of the 5s and 4s, I'd be very happy. But it does look like there's momentum. And if we get another day of 100 million shares of volume, which, by the way, I don't know why it's happening. This is not Open Door. This is not some massive retail cult. This is not some person who's tweeting 50,000 times a day about the stock to get it to move up. I mean, this really does feel like there is a institutional response or a proactive response to something they think is going to happen. And they are either loading the boat or getting a bunch of other people with them to load the boat, because retail just doesn't care enough about Grab to give it 100 million shares of volume. Like, as much as I like Grab, there's not that much interest in the company. So we're going to see it. But I kind of like that, because if it's not retail driven and it's more, it just means there's something deeper to the story. People have either figured it out or they expect something big to happen, maybe with the $7 billion they have in cash. And that means it's much more sustainable in terms of the momentum in the rally, which is very important for Grab. So throughout the day, we're going to see how the progress of that company continues to perform. SoFi right here, very close to 28. SoFi 15 cents away. 15 cents away would be very nice to see if SoFi can get to 28, got to 27.85. I think it closed above 27 yesterday. So very exciting to see that. SoFi obviously looks like it wants to break out, especially based on the rate cut thesis that should be happening tomorrow officially. And I think that's why SoFi is getting some momentum. Trump just said right now that we have a deal on TikTok. That's likely why Oracle was just announced as the TikTok cloud provider. We don't have any updates on what this deal looks like, but he says we have a deal on TikTok and we will be announcing a buyer. He looks like he's probably talking to the media right now. We have a deal on TikTok and we will be announcing a buyer for TikTok. Okay, so we will find out hopefully later today. Apple will buy TikTok. Dude, if Apple buys TikTok, I mean, that would be massive, bro. I think Apple goes up 10% if they buy TikTok. TikTok's worth like ByteDance is worth 3. I don't know exactly what TikTok's worth, but that's a big asset for Apple to have. I don't know. Who do you guys think would buy TikTok? Who's the buyer? We will be announcing a buyer for TikTok. And I'm sure that the government's going to take a little bit of a stake in it, right? And because Trump's been wanting to do that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they took a stake in Intel. So why wouldn't they take a stake in TikTok? Dude, wait, that's actually big news. If it's one of the Mag 7s, a Microsoft and Apple, that's like a massive thing. If it's Oracle, that's also pretty massive. It's not going to be Zuck's. I don't think they're going to give him that much control. So I don't think it's, I mean, if Meta buys TikTok, I mean, goodness, great. If they allow that to happen, I don't think it's going to be Roblox. I don't think it's Broadcom. Dude, hold on. That's actually big news, bro. We got to find out we got to keep an eye on that. If that's like any of the Mag 7, that'll move the S&P. If it's freaking Apple, that will move Apple and that will move the S&P. That will make September a very strong month, at least for one of these stocks, which can overall help the entire market. But we got to see. They're going to have to put up at least 100 billion, right? Any company, even if it's like in shares or equity or debt. It's going to have to be one of these companies that we see. I don't think it's going to be Twitter. I don't think Twitter can afford it. Or X. Grab. Maybe that's why Grab's been pumping. Grab is buying TikTok. Maybe that's why. Amit, is the Grab Alipay partnership a reason why Grab's moving? So I said this yesterday on the market close. I think all of the headlines that you guys have been seeing on X about all the things that Grab has been doing with Thailand and Malaysia and Alipay and all these random things, I don't think any of those are the reasons why Grab is pumping. I really don't. Because like all those headlines are like cool headlines, but they're not enough to get 100 million shares of volume 2 days in a row. There's something deeper going on. I can't prove it, but my gut tells me it's not because of some headlines that shows that Grab's working with OpenAI. Like that just can't be the reason to get 100 million shares of volume. Like no one cares that much. There has to be something else the street knows. And I think eventually we will know as well. Oh, if it's Snapchat, TikTok is dead. Snapchat is a professional at ruining companies. So I don't think it's going to be Snapchat can barely manage their own company. I mean, and again, Snapchat's a good product that gets a lot of users. It's just they don't know how to manage the business. So I doubt it would be Snapchat. It would have to be it would have to be like an Amazon, a Microsoft, or an Apple, right? It would have to be a massive company that can take in all of those employees, all of that data, all of that content, all of that infrastructure. Yeah, Snapchat can't even afford them, right? Or it would have to be private equity that ends up buying it, which actually to me is probably the more likely option, that it's private equity over the Mag 7. Because private equity can take on the debt and they can take it in, but That is going to be exciting. We are going to see. We got an update right here. Google collaborates with Coinbase to add crypto payments to its new AI payments protocol. We talked about that level 1 AI payments protocol that Google was launching 2 weeks ago, and I thought that was very exciting for Google as well. And Google stock headed to 253. I mean, this is just one of the best stories on Wall Street, to see Google completely dismissed and dismembered, and people basically saying the company was dead. You had Brad Gerstner a couple years ago saying 10 Blue Links is going to be dead. The entire company is not going to survive. I think since then he's actually bought in because he realized there's a thesis here. And now Google's knocking on the door of, well, it's exceeded 3 trillion. And who knows, maybe it's going to be knocking on the door of 3.5 trillion pretty soon. So very, very, very exciting to see for Google and the people that own Google heavily. I mean, it's worked out. And this is what you want to see in a bull market, right? You want to see the diversity of different names, like Tesla going up, whether or not you hate the valuation. Like it's good to see in a bull market, Tesla's getting momentum, because it should be getting momentum. And if a rising tide is lifting all boats, I think a lot of that is happening right now. But Google, ironically, is one of the boats that's helping the broader boat of the market, because Google is just such a big part of the S&P, and now it's up 40% in the past couple of weeks, which is very, very exciting. TikTok deal to include new investors with ByteDance, Oracle to keep cloud agreement. Yeah, so we want to see what are those new investors for the U.S. business. And hopefully we get some of those details later today as well. Apple would have the money, but how they monetize it given their current business model, this would represent a major shift, and we don't sell your data. Yeah, I mean, look, if Apple ends up taking a stake in TikTok, they're definitely going to be selling your data, because TikTok's entire business model is based on selling data. But I don't know. I think the market would definitely be excited to see one of those things happening. Let's get to a little bit of coverage right here. So Trump yesterday tweeted that companies should be reporting every 6 months instead of 3. Here was the SEC's response to what Trump had to say yesterday.
In a statement to CNBC, an SEC spokesperson said, at President Trump's request, Chairman Atkins and the SEC is prioritizing this proposal to further eliminate unnecessary regulatory burden on companies. In his social media post,
wow, the SEC is taking it seriously, folks.
Yesterday morning, President Trump made the case that a 6-month reporting basis would save firms money, allow managers to focus on properly running their companies, and help America better compete with China and that country's longer-term view of business development. We discussed this yesterday morning on the program, and you want a long-term focus on this. It's been something that a lot of people picked up later in the day. Warren Buffett's talked about. He and Jamie Dimon wrote an op-ed many years ago. Let's see, it would have been 2018, where they said short-termism is harming the economy. And that's a valid point. But in that op-ed, what they laid out was really a request for companies to stop issuing earnings per share guidance on a quarterly basis, that is, too hard to hit that number every time around. I think we'd probably like to see some disclosure from companies to see what they've done in the last 3 months. I think if you can get away from this short-term guidance, that would be fantastic. You do want companies that think longer term, and probably Amazon is the best example of that. They lost money for forever, and Jeff Bezos, in his very first letter to shareholders, told investors, we're not in this for the short term. We are in this for the long haul, and that's going to mean we're going to spend a lot of money at times and maybe even lose money. Rather than taking the profits now, we're trying to build big, and it's obviously worked out very well for that company. He was looking for shareholders that agreed with him in that mission, and he found it because he was clear about that from the very start.
But when you're trying to forecast earnings per share, you have no idea. I mean, you look at all the charges, and that's why we back everything out, and we never do GAAP, really.
Right.
We never do GAAP. And I don't know how many times in the past we've said, wow, the big miss on revenues, and the company says, we've got these things that are in the pipeline, and they're reporting, let's say they're reporting at the beginning of August and the quarter ended on July 31st. They can say on August 3rd, a lot of these things that we thought came in.
Right.
And we thought they were going to come in the July quarter, and they didn't. So, we pushed back, but there they are, and the stock sells off because they missed their revenues. And it's kind of, they call it lumpy. You never know when certain deals that you close are actually going to come in.
On a 6 month.
So I asked the market close yesterday, but who agrees with this? Who agrees with this? I don't agree with this, bro. I don't want to get into the rant again. By the way, 70% of you said 25 bips. 50 bips had 21%. 9% said no cut. I'll do a poll again in the chat, but I don't like it, bro. When should companies report? Every quarter, 2 times a year. So 4 times a year, 2 times a year. I just didn't, I don't know, dude. Maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe I want more data for the companies I'm investing in. I don't know, dude. I mean, since 1950, it's been 4 times a year. So for that to change, and the SEC, you saw that statement. They said, we are making it a priority to take this seriously. I don't know, bro. It'd be weird to not every 90 days have the data and just know how the company's doing. Does it really matter that much in the grand scheme of things? No, but it would be quite weird to just have to go 6 months without knowing how a company's doing. I don't know. It would be very weird. Like, I feel like transparency is important. I feel like the market in the United States is so thriving because we have all this data, and like it gives people an opportunity to see a company's earnings like in the first quarter and be like, oh, this company's going to have a good year. I'm going to buy more. But if they don't get that data for 6 months until June, midway through the year, it's just, I don't know. The volatility going into earnings is going to be crazy because it's going to be like 6 months worth of a market move that potentially is priced in or not priced in could take place on a single day. Like, I really don't like the idea, but obviously I can't do anything about it. It also seems random, bro. Where did this come from? It just came out of nowhere. And I was like, what's going on, bro? Why is this becoming such a big issue? Like what happened where Trump woke up and he was like, yeah, we need to change how companies report earnings because the past 80 years we've been doing it the wrong way. Like, I don't know. Surely this won't pass. I mean, look, if you heard the SEC statement, if they are making it a priority, it's Trump's SEC at the end of the day. So they might do whatever they want to do. And we're going to see. I really disagree with the argument that private companies are not going public because of reporting laws. Dude, I don't think that's the case. I don't think Stripe is like, we can't go public because we're, annoyed that every 90 days we have to report our results. Like, I think there's so much nuance to why company, and by the way, we've had a lot of companies go public this year. The reason companies didn't go public for the past 2.5 years is because interest rates were at 5%. There's not even a debate. Like, it's really hard for a company to go public if the cost of borrowing capital is at 5% and the investor appetite for new ideas, given they could get 5% in a money market fund, is basically zero, or it has been zero for the past 3 years. So I refuse to believe the argument that, oh, companies won't go private or public because it's hard to report the results or it's too much of a burden. Like, first of all, you shouldn't go public if you think it's a burden to report your results every 90 days. Like, you're not a big boy company at that point. You don't deserve to go public. But the idea that they didn't go public because of reporting requirements versus interest rates and macro, I don't know. I feel like it's the opposite. So we got to see. We got to see what ends up playing out. This might end up allowing more companies to go public, though. Maybe that's the effect that it has. I just don't think that's the reason why companies have not chose to go public over the past 3 years. All right, folks, we got 40 seconds. 40 seconds until this market opens. It is the second day of being back. I'm very, very excited to be back. We'll have the market close as usual today. We will get back into the groove of things. I think all eyes today are on Tesla, Google, SoFi to see if we can crack 28. I mean, we had some good momentum yesterday. Let's see if we can continue that momentum. And if we can, then hopefully we will have some more excitement as we get into the last 2 weeks of September and end out this month. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Tuesday, September 16th, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Let's get into it. SoFi, 27.77. That's what you got. 27.79 on SoFi. That's up about 0.4%. 27.78. Let's see if that one can break into that 28 level. Hoodie getting a little bit of a move. 115.50. That's up about 0.5%. Palantir 170. Tesla 414. S&P 660. 160. That is basically at all-time highs. Not too bad for the S&P 500. So it's making some moves. Hit 659 yesterday. Now it is green. Grab gets a decline, below 6, almost just like yesterday. So let's see if history wants to rhyme. You get a 3% decline. We'll see if there's anyone willing to buy that dip and if that one recovers or if that one continues to stay down. But grab right there, down about 2.7%. Google, 251.84. That's up about 0.17%. SoFi, 27.50. AMD, 161. Reddit is at 262. That's also down a bit on the day. Meta's pushing 770. Meta hasn't been there in a couple of weeks. So nice to see Meta making a move. I think it got all the way down to the 730s. And then Amazon, 233. Amazon, 233. That is green as well. PayPal right here, 66. That's down 0.5%. Apple, 237. That's green. SMCI, that's green. Bitcoin, 115. That's holding on. Where is BMNR? 5308. There's a lot of people tweeting yesterday that they panic sold their Bitmine yesterday. I think you just got to really be careful of not panic selling or FOMO buying. This is a volatile stock. It is going to have massive levels of swings up or down. And so if you own it, you can't be too scared if it goes down 3 or 4% in a day, but you also can't FOMO in if it goes up 3 or 4% in a day because it is volatile. So for this one, you got to just have a long-term thesis on Ethereum to be able to hold it and not get too afraid of the volatility up or down. HIMS right here, 52.76. That is green, or that is slightly red. Google trying to get back to 252. We'll check 253 resistance in a second. NVIDIA, by the way, that whole China NVIDIA monopoly thing, or antitrust thing, that news was irrelevant. I mean, it was down for like 3% in the pre-markets yesterday, then it fully recovered, and now it's basically recovered back to 177. So the China antitrust stuff does not look like it's going to be a hurdle for NVIDIA. Tesla still holding 415, and then Hoodie trying to make a run to 116. I think Hoodie should be trying to make a run to 120 again, but let's see if there's the momentum and potential for that to happen. SoFi, did we hit 28? We hit 27.88. Let me check resistance on SoFi. She is trying to go for it, and it looks like 28 is very close to get there. We got to see if that happens. Rocket Lab holding above 50. Oh, yeah, so Rocket Lab did an offering yesterday, guys. That's why Rocket Lab fell after hours. $750 million shelf offering, which you can't blame Rocket Lab. Their stock is up 300% from the lows, and space is an expensive business. So that's why that stock took a hit from 55. 28 resistance on SoFi, 74,000 shares. 74,000 shares. Accelera is up a little bit on the day, 3.9%. Again, Arnie was on the stream. For those that missed it yesterday, his message for anyone holding Accelera is just you cannot care that much about the day-to-day price movements on this because it's either 100x or it's zero. And so he believes in the technology and the business. It's just one of those things where in biotech, it's going to take some time to see if that can play out. Hoodie, are we getting 116? There you go. We got 116. All right, let's see if we can build any momentum on Hoodie on 116 and maybe make our way back into the 118s. CoreWeave, that is green. Again, they got an NVIDIA contract yesterday. $6.3 billion, essentially of a put option that if CoreWeave cannot sell their GPUs, NVIDIA will buy them back. NVIDIA, I think, feels confident enough that they will sell those GPUs. That's why they're willing to get into that agreement. But that is why CoreWeave popped yesterday. And then Nebius, is that one up? That one slightly flat at $90. Bloom Energy, that one is also green, 8%. I don't know if there's a headline there. I don't think they had earnings. But Oklo is part of the reason probably all the energy stocks are going up because they because the United States and the UK are investing more in nuclear energy, and Oklo hit like 95 yesterday from $6 in September 2024. Just an incredible story. Oklo right here now at 92. Oh, BE got upgraded. Morgan Stanley raised their price target to 85 from 44. Their bull case is now 185. They write, Oracle's massive upside booking surprise opens up a new vision for Bloom's potential scale. Last week, Oracle posted a substantial bookings beat versus expectations. This comes just a month after Bloom announced an agreement with Oracle to power their AI data centers with its fuel cells. As a result, we think Bloom has now become a much more clearly favorable position for success in powering AI data centers. All right, so Bloom getting some momentum based on Oracle's backlog continuing to increase. That stock is green. See, here's the thing. If we don't report every 3 months and I'm invested in a data center infrastructure play, I'm sorry, but I would get really nervous. Like, because these plays are highly speculative. You need to know that the data centers are going the right way. You need to know that there's actual demand. And every 3 months, if I'm in something like an IREN or a Cypher and I don't have the data, imagine in 6 months, you just get really crappy data. Like, it's one of those things where every 90 days, I think it's appropriate to just know what's happening. And not to mention NVIDIA. I mean, imagine like you go 6 months and not knowing that NVIDIA's business actually isn't going that well. Like that's just, it's one of those things where every 3 months, I don't think it's crazy to get some of the updates. AMD right there, 160, that goes down. SoFi going down. We got some red candles across the board. So everything kind of losing its green, or if it's not red, it's basically flat on the day. Grab got back to 6. So it fell all the way to 591. Now at 599, got back to 601. There you go, back to 602. So it looks like it's holding strong or trying to hold strong in that $6 range. You got Apple right here, 237. That's slightly green. Circle, 140. That's up 5%. Circle's at 125 last week. So that one making a little bit of move. Enphase, 3850. Then Microsoft getting back to 515. Microsoft was at 495 last week. So Microsoft getting a little bit of momentum. The way I'm able to check resistance is on Robinhood. You can use any NASDAQ level 2 data provider, but on Robinhood, if you click on the yellow arrow near a price, you can see the bid and the ask, and then you can see the shares at each level. So 28 now is 76,000 shares for SoFi. SoFi made a big move yesterday, though. It just jumped to 2740 like it was nothing. Like there was no resistance. So I feel like 30 is calling its name, and 28 would not be that crazy to see. You got Grab. There you go. Back above 605. Let's see if it can get back above 610. I think that would make it green on the day. But it is holding 6 very nicely, which is something I'm very happy about. I ran almost at 38 yesterday. Now it's at 37.23. Lyft, bunch of call options were bought yesterday. That one hit 20, down 2.5% of the day, 1992. Uber did not hit 100, but it did hit all-time highs, 98.51, basically still at all-time highs. Big Bear AI. So there was a politician who bought Big Bear AI. She bought 50,000 of it on August 7th. That's why that stock is up 8% right now. So she probably bought it at 650. So technically you can buy it cheaper than her. But it's some representative. It's not like a massive name in Congress, or the House of Representatives. She bought 50,000 worth of BBAI. Which to me, I mean, in and of itself, look, I don't know if she's like Pelosi 2.0, but most of Big Bear's contracts are government-based. Now, their government contracts are declining year over year. So that's like the bad part of their government business. But if a politician is buying it, you never know. They might know something. But that's probably why that stock is moving right here. SoFi 2730, Tesla 412, Palantir 169, Hoodie gave up 116 very quickly, Nvidia 176, and then the S&P trying to hold on to 661. Is ETH going up or down? Ethereum is okay, getting a little bit of weakness. That means BMNR probably is weak. BMNR is weak, 52.74. That's down from 53.50. That's taking a little bit of a hit. Dollars all-time low, is it? It was at 97.30 yesterday. Wow, it's at 96. All right, this dollar's taking a hit. We got rate cuts coming up tomorrow, most likely. Maybe the market's kind of previewing what we think going into rate cuts. Rock Lab right here, 49. That's down 8% again because of that offering. So you are seeing a ton of red candles across the board, but not to the point where it's like all these stocks are getting faded that hard. Palantir back to 170, and then Robinhood back to the 115.50s as well. 76% of you said 4 times a year. So most of you guys wanted quarterly over 2 times. Let me ask you another question. FOMC, green or red? Do you think we sell off going into FOMC? Or do you think we hold on? What do you guys think? Open Door is down 4% as well. So Open Door taking a little bit of a beating today. S&P 660.9. Oh, yeah, I forgot to say this. Vlad did sell yesterday. That's probably another reason why Robinhood got hit. He sold about $400 million worth of stock. $400 million worth of stock, 3.5 million shares. I talked about this yesterday on the Tech Bros podcast, but my response is like, I really don't care. I mean, first of all, the guy deserves to take profits. He built this company from 0 to 100 billion. He's changed my life with the company. He's changed so many of our financial futures by allowing us to invest, when this thing was below $10 billion in market cap. So to me, I mean, look, he's going to take profits eventually. The guy owns 50 million shares. He's been selling consistently, 20s, 30s, 40s, but he's always taken profits. This was one of the bigger profits he's taken. But why wouldn't he? The stock is up 10x in like a year and a half. I mean, like at some point, you got to take some chips off the table. So to me, I don't read too much into it. And the fact that Robinhood's moving green up 1% right now, and Robinhood was basically untouched yesterday. It was down like 0.5% after a $400 million exit. To me, shows just how much liquidity and resiliency is in the stock, which is not that bad. Derek says, I just got back online. Figure AI up. We talked about it. Figure has raised at $39 billion. pretty exciting stuff. I think it obviously validates, or it continues to validate, the thesis for humanoid robots for the market, and that probably should up Tesla's valuation as well. But it's going to be very exciting to see how Figure continues to navigate this over the coming decade. NVIDIA right here, 176, S&P 660, AMD 160, SoFi 2711. SoFi potentially looking like it's going to go below 27. 55% of you say green for FOMC. So the majority of you say that it's not going to be a sell the news as we get into the FOMC. Derek got into Figure at 70 million. I got in at 2 billion. So he was like one of the first investors in the Series A when like the idea was on a napkin. So for him, it's like a massive return at 40 billion. And for me, it's a 20x, which is still a massive return as well. But yeah, I think if it either goes to $1 trillion or goes to 0, in my opinion. Like I really do think that's this. It's either going to go to $1 trillion, it's going to be an amazing return, or it's going to go to 0, and it's just not going to win. And I think the new funding they got hopefully gets them closer to the potential of just being a massive company one day. App 11 right here, 597. That's up about 1%, trying to hit 600. But now you're seeing some bigger red candles. S&P officially goes red. So there you go. You got the S&P. There's that red. It was at 662. Now it's at 667.4. SoFi trying to hold on to 27. And then Hoodie just giving up 115. Hoodie's just been so volatile within 114 to 117. Just been stuck within that range. And it continues to be stuck there. Derek says, sell now, bro. Get rid of it. I invested 25K. So that was my investment in it. VIX is slowly going up a little bit. All right, so that's where you're seeing some of these red candles. MJNYC says, side note, hey, bro, I appreciate you so much. My girl says I'm addicted to your bell. Secretly, I think she is as well. That's good. That means you both will want to listen to the bell every single morning. So that's a good thing. HIM's down 5%. Dude, we're going to get some of those pre-FOMC jitters now as well. Like FOMC is only 24 hours away. And you're going to start to get a lot of people thinking, well, is a rate cut actually bullish? Is it bearish? Like what, you're going to start to get a lot of people thinking about a lot of different things around rate cuts. And until J-Powell, and also here's the thing, J-Powell cannot be hawkish tomorrow. It has to be like, he has to say, hey, we cut, and we cut because like, we think it's time to cut. But if J-Powell comes out and is like, well, things are just horrible and like we needed to cut to be able to save the economy, then people are gonna be like, wait, maybe things are really bad. And like, maybe we should think twice about paying these valuations. So it's going to be an important one. It's going to be a really important one, but I definitely think we'll get some of those jitters going into it. I just think it ends up likely green because at the end of the day, what it comes down to for the next 4 months to me is corporate earnings. If earnings don't disappoint in Q3, I just think you're going to have enough juice in the tank to get the market to realize paying these multiples is not egregious because the earnings are justifying it. And again, the earnings have to justify it. But if they do, then I think we're going to be okay. Everyone's been asking for rate cuts. Now when Powell gives it, then no one's happy. Funny how that works. Well, that is quite literally how it happens. Like everyone wants it, and then when we get it, it's a sell the news. But hopefully it's not that big of a sell the news. J Powell can't be like, we got to save the economy. He said everything is doing well for months. It would just make him look bad. Yeah, but granted, he does have more data about the labor market now, which is not good data with these job provisions and the jobless claims. We get jobless claims on Thursday. We'll see how bad that is again. I mean, last week, dude, 263 versus 230. That was a 30,000 job miss that we haven't had in a long time. From that perspective, it's definitely one of those things that allows J Powell to have new data. Trump is live right now. He's talking about his new Fed president that he elected. I think he was confirmed this morning. Let's switch over to him, and then we'll keep going from there.
Had it out for him, and are you?
Yeah, I'm going to call him in a few minutes from the helicopter, and he's a good man. Most of you know him. He's very talented. He'll have a big influence on this. When too late getting his rates down, I guess. Who knows? You never know with too late, but he's done a lousy job.
Okay, that one's just a little loud. Let me see if I can get another one real quick. Let's see if I can pull this one up. Oh, yeah, he's going to the UK. Let's get this one, see if it's better audio. Okay, you can barely hear anything. We'll get some of the quotes, but you can really not hear too much of this.
The rate should be much lower, much lower. But I've just signed his document and all of the papers, and Steve Myron is now on.
The round of fences is now underway in Gaza City. Your reaction to
So we're going to see what happens because I hear Hamas is trying to use the old human.
Okay. So again, you can't hear it too well, but he did say that Stephen Moran is now one of the new Fed presidents that has officially been approved. Trump has signed the papers, which means Trump has Moran, Bowman, and Waller on his side to vote for the rate cut. And then obviously if Powell ends up coming through with it, they'll have the majority they need. But yesterday, the Wall Street Journal reported that one of the courts said it's illegal to not allow Lisa Cook, even though she's under investigation, to be in the voting. So she will also have a vote tomorrow. So even though, she's dealing with whatever she's dealing with from the FHA, she still will be able to vote. I think it'll still be a rate cut, but Trump should have enough people that are on his side to get that rate cut. S&P goes red. SoFi below 27. SoFi below 27. That one goes down. Grabby grab. Holding on to the 590s, which is very nice. I mean, we'll see if it actually gets much lower than that, but it's stuck within that 595 to 6 range. Probably also algorithmic if the entire market's taking a red candle. Grab's going to take a red candle right here, and we'll see if that can move up later throughout the day. Apple right here, 238. Apple's actually going green against the market. So Apple's holding on. Again, iPhone 17, from everything I've seen around pre-orders, especially in China, it looks like the iPhone 17 is going to sell a lot of units. And it looks like it's part of that 3-year upgrade cycle that people have been waiting for. People thought the super cycle was coming for the past 2 years. It looks like iPhone 17 is when we're really going to see that super cycle play out. And that could be one of the things that's really helping Apple right now. Or maybe Apple's buying TikTok. True. That could also be happening. Any thoughts on HIMS? I mean, look, this stock is, first of all, this stock is still up 100% year to date. So if you bought in early, you can't be too upset about it. I just think within all the Novo trials and the variety of different announcements they have coming out from the FDA around compounders, you kind of just have to hold long and strong and believe there is a sort of Netflix of health thesis to HIMS and ignore all the other pieces of news that in the short term will affect it. The long term shouldn't affect it. Like I was talking to a HIMS shareholder about 2 weeks ago, and I asked him, just like, he's from Italy. It's not Arnie, but it's another friend. And I was like, why'd you buy it? And he was like, dude, I just think it's a sticky product and people are going to keep using it. And it's like, I can see how my friends in America are using it. I can see how they use one product for another product. So it's like, it's the cross-selling, the upsell, like all the basic parts of the thesis are there. Question is, will the FDA and regulation around compounders really materially change their business? And at a $10 billion market cap, I don't know. As long as they get their marketing costs down and their operating leverage up, they're going to be even more profitable. So for HIMS, I think you just hold long and strong if you believe in that actual thesis. Now, Matt Money has been buying Next Decade, which is a natural gas company. The CEO bought $2 million worth of this on the open market at $740. Maybe we'll get Matt on the channel later this week to kind of explain his thesis. But for those that are in Next Decade, Steve's looking into this one as well. Steve's been in oil and gas plays for a long time, so he's very familiar with the company. But yeah, the CEO buying, I think, was really good confidence for Matt. And I think they updated some of their presentations online for investors. And that's what got him to buy more. Webull is giving a 4% match and 4.5% interest. Dude, I mean, that's not bad. If Robinhood only does 2%. So if Webull is actually giving you 4% to come over to their platform, Webull stock right here, $12.90. Again, for Webull, I just don't see the massive long-term vision when I look at something like a Robinhood. It's just really hard for me to be excited about it. Granted, it's a $7 billion company. Do I think it'll become a $14 billion company one day? Sure. But if you look at their actual earnings growth, the stuff that they should be growing like at least 50, 70%, they're growing like 10%. And so to me, I just don't see the massive growth opportunity. But it's also, not the most expensive stock in the world. 4% is aggressive, though. If they're giving you 4% to come to their platform, my first question is, how the hell can they afford that? Because that's not easy. I mean, Robinhood, even with 2%, has to have phenomenal unit economics to actually give out that type of money. So we're going to see. By the way, I know a lot of people that have come to Robinhood. My uncle 2 days ago said he transferred to Robinhood. I didn't even know I didn't even help him. He just said he transferred. So I think we're going to see an uptick in Q3 net deposits, and hopefully that continues to make Q3 a strong quarter as well. Okay, let's see if Trump is still talking to the media. Again, he's going to the UK. They're going to be signing a bunch of partnerships over the coming days. And I think Jensen is going to be there as well, which is going to be exciting to see kind of what NVIDIA does in the UK.
Interesting, and he obviously is keeping track of China very closely. Rattled off, sort of asked the reporter there, well, do you know what the tariffs are? And then correct.
Rocket Lab is down 10%. Again, the offering yesterday kind of tanked it, 48.50. This thing was at 43 last week, but the $750 million shelf offering is what's down. Oscar also did a $350 million offering. Their stock is down 5%. I don't know why Oscar did. Oscar has like a couple billion in cash, so that one was confusing to me. Rocket Lab does not have a couple billion in cash, and space is very expensive, so I understood that. But the Oscar one, I didn't know exactly why they needed to raise capital.
To them on fentanyl, said, oh, no, it's actually this, and it's 55% all in. And again, TikTok, we've talked a lot about it. Very interesting. We'll see what that investor group is that he referenced. All the different companies. I've got any number of different names, but I don't want to really share all of them because I'm not confirmed on a bunch of them, but it would seem to be a lot of different entities that will have an ownership of TikTok when that deal gets done, maybe as soon as the next 30 to 45 days, as I reported.
Well, market likes the talking with China. Yes. I think that's helpful, right? To keep the lower tariff rates and not worst case on pause. So there's been this Madrid meeting. There's a call scheduled for Friday. There's a potential sidelines of APEC meeting next month. The market likes all that. I think the most important thing he said there, Carl, was that the Federal Reserve should be independent and they should make their own choice. They should listen to smart people like him, he says. But he, despite all these Democrat economists saying the independence is at risk, he's saying no, they're independent. He also continues to highlight the plight of the hostages when it comes to Gaza. Gets a lot of questions about the troops moving into Gaza City. And he warned Hamas, they better be careful with the hostages and not use them as human shields. He's one of the few that continues to draw attention to the hostages.
Yeah, with Rubio in Jerusalem earlier in the week. Meantime, Rivian's moving ahead with its new EV.
All right, so that's some of the updates with Trump and the Fed. Let's take a look at the heat map today and see what we've got going on. Where the market's moving. Yeah, relatively flat. Nothing too crazy. Again, if you got some red, like Google's down 0.02%, nothing crazy. NVIDIA's down 0.5%. Tesla and Amazon are up. Energy's up. Healthcare's up. Insurance is down. Financials are down. Industrials are up. So not too bad. Stock draft, let's take that up. Matt's probably going to be down because of Rocket Lab today. Yeah, Matt's 23.16. I'm at 21.86. If Duolingo was even flat, I'd be up. But given it's down 40%, I'm 2% below Matt. But if Duolingo was literally just flat, if it was down even 15% instead of 40%. So that one, we got to see how that one can ultimately recover. Tanner's up 15, Steve's up 4, and then Chris is up 9. Chris is getting close to double digits on his draft. Chris is getting close to double digits. Chris right here, he's losing on Marvell, Axon, Lilly, and Novo. Tanner's losing on Trade Desk, Melly, and ServiceNow. If Tanner didn't have Trade Desk, he'd probably be second as well. Matt's losing on ASTS and Dutch Bros. Steve's losing on Crowd, Netflix, CRM, PayPal, MicroStrategy, and HIMS. And then I'm losing on Visa and Duolingo. So that's the update we have on the stock draft. Duolingo's having an announcement today. DuoCon 2025. DuoCon. Oh, I thought that was not today. Oh, yeah, it is today. September 16th. Oh, cool. It's in New York. All right. So Duolingo, I should care about this because this is ruining my stock draft. 290. It's up 1.72%. Maybe I just want the CEO to like come onto the stage and be like, hey guys, AI is not going to kill us. The Duolingo will announce that it's going to go to 0. Dude, the biggest thing about that Apple AirPod announcement with live translation is like the other person has to have AirPods, if I'm not wrong. So it's like, is it that exciting? If the other person doesn't have AirPods, how am I supposed to be able to talk with them? So I don't know, dude. I think Duolingo is getting too much FUD. I'm not buying it because I just don't want to take a meaningful position in the name, but I think it's getting a little bit too much FUD. I would not be surprised to see this back at 400 next year pretty easily if they just keep executing and the market stops being stupid.
But if they have bad sequential growth on users or on revenue, then immediately people will think, yep, AI is killing it. So they've really got to have the next 3-4 quarters, if we even report 3-4 quarters, because maybe it's once every 5 years at this point. It's got to be good, because if it's not, the AI narrative will definitely be aggressive with them. So we're gonna have to see. The other person doesn't need AirPods. Okay, why did I think they needed or why did I think I saw a video where someone said, "Oh, you need AirPods." If they need two AirPods, then it is double the revenue. The other uses their phone. Okay, but do they need an iPhone? Or can they use any regular phone? I would imagine they have to have an iPhone at least, right? For the AirPods to connect with it. Or maybe I'm wrong. The point is, I just don't think that is the end all be all for people wanting to learn a language. Like, will it get some people to not want to learn a language? Sure. Like, I don't want to learn a language, so I would use the AirPod like live translation. But for the people that want to learn a language, I don't know. Why can't we both use a phone? Yeah, no, you both could use a phone. I mean, look, I get the reason people think it's bearish. I just think if someone really wanted to learn a language, that's not going to stop them from using Duolingo because of AirPods or because of Google Translate on their phone. I mean, Google Translate has been around for so long. Obviously, it's going to be way better with AI. But they don't need a phone. You can use your own to show them the translation of your speech, and you can hear theirs in the AirPod. Okay, that's actually really cool. That's actually really cool. That's actually very, very, very cool. I still think Duolingo is not dead, but maybe I'm coping for my portfolio. But that's actually really cool. I mean, here's the thing, bro. The thing about a lot of our assumptions around business is that AI is going to commoditize so many things that we think we know that are valuable as they get swooped into the LLMs. And it's like, we're seeing this, like, for example, all these investing research platforms, right, that have built a business on, like, hey, you type in a stock and it tells you the PE and this and that, and you like learn about the history of the stock. With Robinhood Cortex, if you guys saw that demo, they are using natural language where you can be like, hey, show me stocks with a 30 PE that are trading above their 200-day moving average, and I want to, they have to be profitable and this and that. You just type it in as if you're talking to a regular chatbot. And then it screens the entire database of thousands of stocks that Robinhood pays a lot of money every month to be able to get all that data for, to give you the answer you're looking for in seconds. I mean, like, doesn't that kill a bunch of companies that are focused on stock market research when someone can immediately just get the data through an LLM? Like, I think there's so many, and same thing with Duolingo, right? There's so many different features of these companies that are going to be commoditized via LLMs. And that doesn't mean the companies necessarily have to die, but it does mean that their moats might not be as strong. Robert says, I even upload screenshots to Gemini to do technical analysis. Wow. I've never actually tried that, but yeah, why wouldn't you? That's a great idea. Gemini should be trained, if you prompt it also as like a TA expert, to be able to give you some decent TA. But yeah, there's thousands of use cases unfolding in enterprises. And this is why, A, when people say it's a bubble, it sounds kind of stupid. But B, it's like, it will change the dynamic of certain companies that are tailored towards one use case that might just end up being swallowed up by a bigger company. And maybe that happens with Duolingo, but we're going to have to see. No, I never tried that. I've tried LLMs. I've tried asking them for like financial questions and they kind of suck, even though Gemini is getting really good. But no, I've never submitted like a chart to see what the TA would come back from with Gemini or GPT or anything like that. Amazon is strong today, given the market. Amazon, are we holding green? We're holding green on Amazon. This one is only up 5% year to date, so maybe Amazon is the next one to run. Someone did buy $20 million of Amazon call options for $260 March of 2026 yesterday. So you do have some people thinking that Amazon is going to break out and be the next Max 7 to actually make a move. Grab right here, holding on to $595. Google just holding on to $250. SoFi, $26.90. And then the S&P holding on to 660, Palantir 169, Hoodie 114. Yes, Gemini will be replacing Jason soon. Exactly. That's what's going to happen. But it's just crazy, bro. There's so many different use cases that are expanding, and it doesn't look like they are going away anytime soon. Meta glasses with live translation, not that useful in practice. Very little use cases where it makes sense. There was an ad yesterday that got leaked for Meta glasses. I don't know if you guys saw it. Let me see if I can pull it up. But it looks like, it isn't Meta. Yeah, tomorrow Meta Connect is having some live event. And it looks like they're going to be talking about their glasses. This is the ad that got leaked with Meta and Ray-Ban. And as you can see, this is the interface of what it looks like on the glasses itself. So tomorrow, I think we'll be able to stream that event, potentially. I think it's later in the day. Maybe it's in the afternoon. I'll check. But that could also be a massive, massive argument for their glasses. Which, again, I've not been the most bullish on glasses. So I'm open to changing my mind. I really am, given I wear glasses every day. So, I mean, if they introduce a product that's really neat, I will try it out. And if it actually becomes something that I use daily, I mean, that is definitely a threat to Apple. Grab back at 6, but it's also something where it can be very exciting for Meta. It starts today at 5 p.m. The main keynote, I think, is tomorrow. No, September 17th through 18th. And then nothing is today. Maybe they have workshops today, but no keynotes. 5 p.m. Pacific. Okay, so 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I think we can stream that. 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We'll stream Zucks. And we'll see what he has to say. Okay, here's Rivian founder live. Let's see what he has to say. They got their new plant investment last week. Here is RJ.
Plant. A lot of people are saying, is this a smart move, given where the EV demand is in this country, to break ground on a new plant?
Yeah, I mean, we're first launching the R2 in our facility in Illinois, but this is really the site where we'll scale global production. We're building this into a 400,000 unit plant. You can see here, we've done a tremendous amount of site work, working closely with the state. The state's really supported that. We've got the pads are set up. There's infrastructure that's built, roads, the railway, water service. You can see the power, utilities are already coming in.
This doesn't come online on production until 28.
Yeah.
And between now and then, you know that we're going to see a dip in EV sales starting next quarter. Not just for you guys, but for the industry. What do you expect from EV demand after the tax credit ends at the end of the month?
It's hard to be overly specific on exactly what's going to happen in call it the month following the end of the $7,500 credit. But we really look at it in the fullness of time. If you look out past a couple of months beyond that, and certainly into the time frame that we'll be building R2s here, we're really bullish on the demand for EVs, and importantly, the demand for something that's, putting EV aside, is just an incredible vehicle. Starting at $45,000, this is, it's 5-passenger SUV, really comfortable to be in, and incredibly capable on and off road. It captures the essence of what was in our R1 vehicle really well, but at a much lower price point. So we're really bullish on that.
But you need the magnets, you need the raw materials from China. The president is working to negotiate a final agreement with China. Do you need that done by a certain amount of time before you start to say, hold on, the warning light is flashing that we're in trouble here?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about export controls around heavy rare earth metals, which come out of China today. I think there's two pieces. One is, of course, we need to continue to have trade relationships with China on those heavy rare earth metals. But in parallel to that, there's a number of initiatives to build up production outside of China, in particular here in the United States.
Rivian, who's bullish? I mean, this stock has been a great trading stock for a lot of people, up about 4% on the day. It's been stuck between 10 and 14 realistically for the past almost 2 years now. Remember when this one went public at 150, dude? 2021 was quite a time. 2021 was quite the time. I do think there is an argument, though, that yes, when the EV tax rate, look at this chart, dude. My goodness, it got to 178. Goodness, dude. Like when you see that and then compare it to 2025, it's just a whole different market. But yeah, the EV tax credit is definitely ramping up sales for Tesla and Rivian and all the EV companies. When that goes away, I do wonder how much it falls off a cliff in terms of the incentive and motivation for people to buy an EV. And that's where I think it comes down to, like, who has the best technology, not just the best car, if people don't get an agreement to save money to buy their car. And that's, kind of the bull case more for Tesla. Robinhood right here, 115, trying to get back to 115, grab back above 6. Google at 250. ASTS, $40. That one's still not really recovering from last week's news about SpaceX acquiring a company, and then Rocket Lab still down about 9% on the day. Rango said, I had a large Tesla position in 2021 and I hedged it with Rivian put spreads. Wow. It's not a bad trade. Not a bad trade at all. Yeah, dude, 178. Goodness gracious. Okay, let me ask this question. What is currently right now? Okay, I swear I didn't even mean to say that. That was a natural one. That was a natural CRN. What is currently, it just sounds so natural, currently right now. What is currently right now Rivian in 2021? So Rivian was 178 in November 2021. What stock is currently right now? You can pick one stock. That's it. One stock. That is Rivian 2021 that will have a basically 85% decline in 3 years. What is that stock? Don't say Palantir. No bunch of guys. Every time I say, what's the most overvalued stock? Everyone's like, Palantir. What is it, dude? What is that name? Like, we're talking about egregious valuation that is going to get destroyed in a couple years. What could be that name? Okay, a couple of you guys saying Palantir. I see a couple of you guys saying Opendoor. Duolingo, but Duolingo's already gotten hit. So if Duolingo was at 500, I would agree. But Duolingo's already, unless 290 is going down to like 70 or something. All the quantum stocks. You know, people have been saying that for a while, but then quantum continues to show momentum. Reddit, I don't know if it's Reddit. Reddit is expensive though, but they're growing like crazy. And like Rivian didn't have growth in 2021. Reddit has real growth. And they are probably going to be a major player when it comes to feeding models with their data. I can see Reddit correcting. I don't know if it falls back to like $30 or anything. AppLovin, you know, I've never really understood AppLovin's valuation. I want to do a deep dive on them, but they are growing 70%. Not a lot of software companies in ad tech are growing that much. They're very profitable. I don't know if it would be AppLovin. Oklo. Well, see, I think Oklo has been pulled forward all the demand because they're going to get a lot of projects. So if they don't get their project, sure. But Oklo is also only a $14 billion company. It's not, you know, it's not like a $50, $80 billion company. But they got to get their contracts for that to play out. Lululemon, dude, we haven't looked at Lulu in so long. Where is this thing? Lulu. Wow, it's actually lower than it was 2 weeks. It was at 165. Now it's at 160. This one still has not been able to catch a bid at all. This one's just been hit. Where's Klarna? We haven't looked at that. I watched a couple of videos on Klarna over the weekend to understand their business model better. 46. Okay, so it IPO'd at 40, so not a horrible performance. I thought it would be like 60, 70. I thought it would be like a way better performance, but at least it's not below that. SMCI at 44. That's down 1%. Tessie 418. Grab 597. SoFi getting back to 27. NVIDIA 176. And then Hoodie at 115. AMD at 161. And then Amazon still holding on to 234. Adobe, dude, Adobe also has already taken such a big hit for the past 2 years. I don't know if that continues to get hit. I'm not seeing a common name, though, that everyone's like saying. Yeah, Steve says Costco. Exactly. But there's not like one name that everyone's like really thinking. I did see something yesterday about Opendoor that I thought was interesting. Opendoor is now worth 30% of Zillow's market cap. And Opendoor has yet to post a profit in their company's history. They did have an adjusted EBITDA profitable quarter last quarter, which maybe that leads to GAAP net income over the coming quarters, which would be bullish. But Zillow's 21 billion and Opendoor is at 7 billion. So you got Opendoor basically getting a lot of that growth baked in. One thing that's bullish for the new CEO of Opendoor, though, is that he's not getting paid until the stock gets to $33. Until that, he gets $1 of salary. So there is some high level motivation to get this stock to go higher from the CEO's perspective, which, you know, you have to think is a good thing for the stock itself. India government just said statement on visit of team led by assistant U.S. trade representative to India. Okay, so we'll see if we get some more information on India and the U.S. soon. Hopefully by the end of November, they can like come to an agreement and not keep throwing jabs at each other. Dude, TTD kind of already did what I'm saying, right? They got cut in half twice. This thing's been a disaster. Absolute disaster. And if you took a shot on it when it recovered back to 60, it was down from 120. Now it's right back to 45. It's right back to where it was in April. I mean, like, this one's been tough. And then it's right back to where it was in February. So this one's been pretty ugly. But we got to see in 2 years if it's any of the major stocks that make a Rivian type of move to the downside. India says discussions were positive and forward-looking. Okay, good. Good. We need India to be friends with the United States, not just Russia and China. So that's good. That's good to know. Where's Netflix? Someone said I just bought more Netflix. Netflix 1204. Q4 is supposed to be good for Netflix because they're supposed to have a lot more content. This stock's been kind of dead since earnings. Market has just not kind of cared about it, but it has kept its momentum. I mean, this thing is up like 40% year to date, so it's not tanked, but it's also not 35%. It's also not like expanding their multiple until we get earnings. That's another reason for earnings 3-4 times a year. It's like, what is the catalyst to get a stock to go up if you don't have earnings, right? Like if you don't have earnings, what's the catalyst? And so if we only know twice a year, I mean, like every 3 months for traders, people that want to play earnings or people that just want to see their stock have momentum and news that can help it go higher. And I know that goes back to like, are you a long-term investor or short-term investor? And I get it. Like I want to hold Robinhood for the next decade, but I would also like to see every 3 months if there's enough of a update in terms of its progress to get the stock to move to a level that's appropriately matching its progress. So it would be really wild if the SEC just changes that whole dynamic, but we're going to find out over the coming years, or maybe even in the coming weeks, on if that happens. Netflix content is good these days. They have this UI refresh on Apple TV. The descriptions are way better and recommendations are incredible. Yeah, again, one thing I saw on Netflix the other day was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I didn't watch the whole thing, but like I've seen that movie so many times on TV from when I was younger, like the 2005 version, not the 1970 version. And it's like movies like that I actually end up clicking on and like spending 10 minutes on. Dude, the other day, I think I was traveling. I like I got on Netflix and I clicked on the Polar Express, bro. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this movie when I was younger. I didn't end up fully watching it, but like I'd rather watch that movie than whatever new big Leo DiCaprio movie that Netflix pays for. Although they do have some Ben Affleck movie coming out on Netflix with Matt Damon, and those two are a powerhouse together. Let Him Rip is what it's called. Let Him Rip. It's a thriller, or The Rip. The Rip is what it's called. So maybe that one's gonna be a big one for them as well. Okay, let's see what other market moving headlines do we have. What else do we have going on? Oh, we got some housing data. Let's look at this. We got home builder sentiment. Let's pull this up. And then we'll keep going from there.
Kelly. Morning, Rick.
Yes, good morning again. Carl, we have business inventories. This is July number, first month, of course, of the third quarter, and it comes in exactly as expected. Inventories on the business side up 0.2%, and that's exactly what we have in the rearview mirror for our final June read as well. We do see that the yield curve has steepened. This morning's data has brought 2-year note yields down about 3 basis points, but the long end and 10-year stubbornly high, hovering much closer to unchanged. There's also a housing number out, National Association of Home Builders Housing Market Index. And for that, we turn to Diana Olick. Diana?
Homebuilder sentiment in September was unchanged at 32 on the NAHB index. That's a miss. The street was actually looking for a slight gain. Now, anything below 50 is considered negative. The index has been in this low range since May. Last September, it was at 41. But builders are expressing some optimism that lower mortgage rates could get more buyers off the fence. The average rate on the 30-year fixed is down significantly from where it was in May, hitting 6.25% yesterday, according to Mortgage News Daily. Now, NAHB's chief economist Robert Gates said NAHB expects the Fed to cut the federal funds rate at their meeting this week, which will help lower interest rates for builder and developer loans. Of the index's three components, current sales conditions were unchanged at 34. Buyer traffic dropped 1 point to 21, but future sales expectations rose 2 points to 45. That's the highest reading since March of this year. The builders, though, do continue to see softness in the market, with the survey showing 39% of builders reporting cutting prices in September, up from 37% in August, and that is the highest percentage in the post-COVID period. Sarah, back to you.
All right. So obviously rate cuts is going to be what a lot of these home builders and home buyers and sellers are waiting for. So question to everyone in the chat: when rates come down by 25 bips, mortgage rates are at 6.1. Let's say they get to like 5.7. Are you waiting to buy a house? Are you waiting for that rate cut to actually buy a house? I mean, I've heard anecdotally from a couple of people that they are waiting for at least 50 bips, and then they have the cash ready. They are ready to get into the market. I wonder if all that demand comes in, what that does to supply. I wonder if that actually potentially raises prices because there's not enough supply. Although based on the data that we looked at, there's like 9.8 months of inventory in the housing market in the United States on supply. The average is 5.5 months. So there is double, theoretically, the amount of supply that's available. But it's going to be interesting to see like the dynamic of the home builders, the sellers, the buyers, and if it freezes up the housing market or if it continues to open it up as well. Wow, yeah, I see a bunch of you guys saying you're waiting for 450 to low fives. Because right now you could get like 5.7, 5.8. I mean, there's plenty of companies that are willing to offer you it at that level. Even Robinhood was like offering it at 5.7 with Sage. So it's not like it's not like 5.9 is the most attractive, but low 5, I think definitely people would be excited. A lot of them I know are waiting to sell too. Yeah, that is also true. A lot of people are waiting to get out of it. Doug says, yes, I'm waiting to buy a new home. We have outgrown our starter, but the 3% is just too damn valuable. Yeah, if you have 3%, dude, it's tough. It is really tough to give that up. It is not easy. Nick says, I just bought a house in cash because of Palantir. Well, that's not too bad. By the way, did you guys see this picture that Arnie posted? Also, OpenAI just hired the former XAI CFO. So the XAI chief financial officer is now going to OpenAI, or the former one is going to OpenAI, which is pretty wild. But OpenAI just hired him. For those that, again, don't believe the bricks are real, as you can see, Arnie touched the bricks back in May of 2024, and he confirmed it was real. And once again, in September 2025, he confirms it's real. So the ontology of the bricks continues to showcase how the bricks actually are. I'm waiting for low 5s. I'm waiting for high 4s, low 5s, low 5s. It seems like a lot of people are waiting. All right, so, I mean, if people are waiting, then we're going to need to get a little bit more activity with these rate cuts. I mean, look, if we get 25, we're probably getting 50 towards the end of the year. Now, some people are saying 75. I don't know if we get 75. 75's, I mean, I think it's very possible, but definitely 50 seems to be on the table. And then when Powell's gone, you know, who knows how quickly rates can come down. But we're going to have to see. 250 right here on Google. Google holding 250 like a champ, not really giving it up. AppLovin holding the 590s. MicroStrategy 327. DoorDash 258. JD up there. Red Cat, that's down about 7%. Again, Red Cat is a small cap. I know some people are getting interested in this with the drone names. A lot of these names are really small, and they need massive partnerships and contracts to continue getting their stocks to move. But that one is a really good drone company. It's up a lot over the past year, but it probably just needs higher partnerships. Definitely some stuff by the DOD or the DOD. Is it the DOW now? The Department of War? To be able to maintain progress. Coinbase right there, tweet 323. Slightly down on the day. Amazon 135. That's up there as well. Who knows, man? Maybe Amazon's the next breakout. I mean, it's freaking Amazon, right? Like, the only reason they've been tanking after earnings is because AWS has not been as impressive as Azure. But it's not like it's not impressive. It's just the growth rate is not the same. Wow, did gold hit 3,700? Really? Holy crap. Gold, 3,700. Oh my. Oh my, oh my. 3,700 on gold. That is aggressive, dude. That is aggressive. Yeah, gold is, I mean, it's over 37. Did it hit 3,700 yesterday? I feel like I'm seeing this for the first time. It was at 3,650 last time I saw it. I don't know what signal that's saying to the market, because it kind of feels like an everything rally and an everything momentum-based rally. Not just gold is up and stocks are down, but rather everything's up and the dollar is the one that's down. Everything else is doing okay. Silver as well. Price of silver, yeah, 42.9. Silver just under all-time highs, but it hasn't touched 43 yet. Most hated rally. That is correct. I mean, that's basically what Tom Lee said yesterday when he was on CNBC. I mean, his basic argument was just, hey, like, corporate earnings are continuing to prove that it's hard to be bearish, particularly because of AI. This is kind of the main argument he made yesterday.
I do think AI still has many years to just propel earnings surprise and innovation and economic growth. So I don't think it's late. Like, it's too late. It's not too late to buy the Mag 7. But I think the next leg of this is really the Fed cutting, helps the ISM get back above 50, brings down mortgage rates. So it's a cyclical broadening trade. And then I think, financials, I think, are still important, because I think that they're going to re-rate more like technology stocks. Goldman and JP Morgan are basically technology companies now. And as they embrace the blockchain, they're going to become more streamlined and less employee dependent, much more AI driven. So I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Now, if that is the case, you mentioned that it's because of a possible rate move lower and a trajectory of lower interest rates. Just how critical will it be to this market to have those lower interest rates? And do you think that there is a post-Fed playbook for what those companies are going to be?
Yes, I think it's really important for CEOs to be confident the Fed is cutting, because we know the labor market has slowed, maybe even wobbling. And that's because businesses are cautious, and the ISM reflects it. It's been 31 months below 50. The Fed can actually re-inject confidence by saying we're back into an easing cycle. That helps businesses get confident and expand again. So there's a lot of legs to this if the Fed cuts, and I think it's real. It'll be a real improvement in liquidity.
You alluded to some of the places that could see the biggest impact.
Yes.
But can you take us through those? If you had to put a top 3 together about where you think the most activity or juice could come from if the Fed were to embark on this path. I think of maybe home builders. I think of other parts of the market, maybe technology based on valuations. But in your mind, what are the places that are going to reap the most benefit from that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at September 98 and September 2024 as the playbook, because those are both years where the Fed was on extended pause and they cut in September. The number one trade is NASDAQ 100. So I think that's why the Mag 7 and the AI trade gets a lot of liftoff. The second is monetary liquidity sensitivity, global central banks easing. That's Bitcoin and Ethereum, and seasonally strong. I think they could make a monster move in the next 3 months, like huge. And the third, of course, is interest rate sensitives. That's really small caps and financials, but really the first two might be the standout trades.
All right. Because you mentioned the crypto.
All right. So obviously, Tom Lee is pretty damn bullish on these rate cuts helping small caps, financials, real estate, and AI as the tailwind for the large caps. Bitmine right here at 51.36. That is down about 3% on the day, as Ethereum is also down about 1%. So that one continues to take a hit. Does Bill Gates still have his Tesla short? I don't think he does. I think he got out of it from 2022. If he did, he'd be down, about 1.5 billion. I don't think he's still in that short. But maybe I'm wrong. If he is, obviously it's not doing as well right now. Where's SBET today? Is that one getting hit? This one has just not been able to meaningfully take a move higher. Bitmain's still trading above its MNAV. They disclosed yesterday again 2.1 million ETH they have now on the balance sheet, so they're continuing to buy aggressively. Rocket Lab down 11% on the day, 48.16 on Rocket Lab. Yeah, I think Bill Gates is out. I don't think he's still stuck in this short. It was so funny when Elon shared the text messages. I think they were going to like some TED conference. And when Elon, like before he met him, he was like, hey, before we meet, like, are you still like short Tesla? And Bill Gates was like, unfortunately, yes, I am. Basically, Elon was like, I don't really want to talk to you anymore. Can I find those texts? Elon, Bill Gates texts. I mean, that shit was hilarious, but it's like, how do you tell someone, yeah, I'm short your company? I mean, it's just so weird to tell them that. By the way, this was the conversation from 2022 when Elon was texting Larry Ellison. This thing is just iconic, bro. Elon's like, hey, any interest in participating in the Twitter deal? Larry's like, yeah, of course. And then Elon's like, how much can you put in? And Larry's like, $1 billion or whatever you want. And then Larry's like, sure. I mean, it's quite incredible. But Larry Ellison now, I think, is the second most rich person on the planet. Larry Ellison net worth, it's down. It's $350 billion. Elon's at 463. Yeah, so Larry Ellison, who we don't talk about as like one of the richest people in the world, is now second on that list, which is quite incredible. Quite incredible to see that playing out. Billionaire chats, exactly. Billionaire chats. Coinbase 321. Tesla still holding on to the 415s. Grab right there at 595. You got SoFi 2670. SoFi's actually down 4% of the day, and then Robinhood just below 115. Zuckerberg, I don't think is third. Zuckerberg net worth. Is he third? Oh no, you're right, third. Yeah. Okay, let me just go to this. I thought he was like fifth. Bezos is fourth. So it's Elon, Ellison, Zucks, Bezos, Larry, and Sergey. Bernard, 7, the Louis Vuitton guy. Then Steve Ballmer. Jensen's number 9. Warren Buffett is still at 10, which is pretty incredible. Then you got Michael Dell. I didn't know he was number 11. I actually had no idea Michael Dell was number 11. Then you have Amancio Ortega. Then you have Rob Walton, Walmart family, Jim Walton, Alice Walton. Wow. 3 of the Waltons, 13, 14, 15. 123 billion, 121 billion, 112 billion. It's like they both, all 3 of them are like, oh, well, I have 123. You have 121. Like, that's crazy, bro. Bloomberg's at 109. Bill Gates at 106. Ambani, India, 104. And that rounds out your top 20. CZ, Binance, dude, he's at 78 billion. Dude, this is wild. Some levels of wealth are like, you can't even like understand how wealthy some people are. It's pretty incredible. Yes, Oracle will keep TikTok. We covered that news in the morning. Oracle is staying with their TikTok contract as well. Yeah, Larry's net worth went up 100 billion when Oracle went up 30%. That's because Larry Ellison owns about 47% of Oracle. He still owns almost 50% of the company, which, I mean, is not easy to do. He's also 81. His wife is 33, and he looks great for 81. I mean, the guy does not look like he's 81. So he has been doing very well. I should be on page 10 million. Oh my gosh, dude. That's crazy. What is it? Hold on. How much do you have to make to be in the top 1% of America? I think it's like 400 grand. No, okay, it's up 750 to $1 million. So 750 to $1 million gets you top 1%. What if we do top 1% of the world? 172,000. However, this figure can vary significantly. The amount needed to reach the top 1% can be much lower, as 34,000 annually when considering the world population, 800,000. Yeah, this is the actual number. This is the number I've seen before. 34,000 a year makes you top 1% of the world. Because obviously there's 8 billion people, and a majority of those people are living on like less than $1 a day. So above 34, you are top 1%. United States, it looks like you got to be basically above 1 million to get there. Allison has 1.2 billion shares of Oracle. Goodness gracious, bro. Yeah, we're in the top 1% of the world, bro. We're in the top, we're in the top 1% of the world. That's what we're doing. Turbo Energy, holy crap, 500% in a day. 172 million market cap. Turbo Energy provides energy solutions. It engages in the developing, manufacturing, and distributing of photovoltaic products. If anyone's in this, congrats. TURB looks like they probably announced something that got the stock to move today. Secured a $53 million contract to deploy 360 megawatts of solar storage. Delivered advanced solar energy storage solution to power Uber's electric fleet in Spain. And they have 11 million shares outstanding, which is likely why it's squeezing right here based on this news. It'll crash by 3 p.m. This is a very small float stock, so whoever is FOMOing into it right now, it obviously could tank. Luke said it made it $800 today. All right, if you got in, then not too bad. Making some money from it. Imagine the inheritance tax. Yeah, dude. I mean, when you have that much money, how do you pass it down to your kids, bro? Ellison hasn't sold a share in the last 30 years. Is this true? Let's ask Google. Has Larry Ellison sold a share of Oracle in the past 30 years? I think you're right. I don't like, he doesn't tend to sell. Okay, so he sold in 2023, but his stake is now 41% because of Oracle's buyback program. So although he sold it in 2023, he sold a lot in the 2000s when he had some controversies, but he's not an active seller of stock, which is likely why he continues to retain. I mean, he probably just borrows against all of it when you have that much money. You don't pass it down, you put it in a trust. Yeah, I mean, even Vlad, when he sells stock on Robin, if you look at the SEC filing, it's through a trust. It's not through like him personally selling it. There's a bunch of these people that do it through a trust or a foundation, and there's a lot of tax advantages to that. I don't have a trust because I'm not at that level yet where a trust would be that effective, but still, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that they navigate it. I have no thoughts on RZLV earnings. I know a lot of people are talking about this. I just don't know enough about this company. Resolve AI. I know it's been getting some buzz online. I've just not looked into it at all. So I got to take some time and see if there's anything here to look into. Why is Cheesecake Factory down? I actually took Amir to Cheesecake Factory for the first time, so he got to experience it. This one down 4%. Not sure. There might be some headline here, but they had a great earnings. Like, they had a phenomenal earnings in Q2. And this one I still think is up about 35% for the year. Of course you did. Dude, I had to show him cheese. Arnie was doing something. He was out with a friend. So I was like, all right, Amir, I got to show you Cheesecake Factory. He ate a whole cheesecake, bro. I took like a bite of the Snickers cheese. He just demolished it, bro. He loved it. I think Cheesecake Factory, I mean, the cheesecake's good, bro. It's like legit good. So I think he enjoyed it. Arnie and Amir didn't understand that when you go to an American restaurant and you order a meal, 99% of the time you are taking that meal home with you and you're going to eat the leftovers later. And so when I called for the boxes, he was like, why are you calling for boxes? I was like, to pack it? He's like, why are you packing it? I was like, because we're going to eat it later. He was like, you guys do that here? I was like, yes, bro. Why would we waste the food? Like usually when you're paying for a meal, you're kind of paying for 2 meals, to be honest. And he was like, we don't do that in Sweden. Hoodie back over 116. And now granted, in Sweden, they get a proper meal size. They get a proper proportional like allocation of food, not like some massive plate like we do in the United States, which is probably why it's also more expensive. But they didn't understand the concept of like taking food home. The portion sizes are just so different. Men don't have leftovers. Bro, I never finish my food. I always need leftovers. But yeah, they didn't fully understand that. Everyone does that, even the EU. No, he was like, dude, no one does that in Sweden. I was like, okay, but in the United States, you tend to take food home. Is Stub IPOing today? StubHub? Did anyone request allocation for this? I don't know about this one, bro. This is a very old company that's going public. It's like Live Nation, right? It's a way to buy and sell tickets. I don't know if it's the most exciting opportunity in the IPO market. Granted, I know nothing about the business, so this is just like, hey, would I actually like invest on the idea itself? And I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. I always eat the whole meal. Yeah, I just can't, bro. Mid-take steaks into microwave. I have heated up a Texas Roadhouse steak in the microwave before. It is what it is. It's not that bad, dude. It's not that bad. Will you be reviewing Taylor Swift's album? That is a good question. I probably won't, because although I love some of her old music, I don't really listen to that many new albums and songs. We should do that one day. We should have a listening party for Taylor Swift. That would be fun. S&P 660, NVIDIA 176, GME 2592. That's actually had some momentum from last week. Duolingo at 293, TFC 44. What else do we got going on? Let's see. What other headlines are there? Across the board. Stephen Moran got sworn in. We saw that. We saw the Homebuilder Index. Some quotes on Zelensky from Trump. Trump said Zelensky and Putin hate each other, and it looks like I'll have to sit in the room with both of them. So they had that Alaska conference a month ago. Nothing really has happened since then. So Trump right here saying he's going to have to moderate this by sitting in the room with them. He also said Zelensky is going to have to make a deal. Europe must stop buying oil from Russia. Hopefully by the end of the year, we get some update on that. Not that optimistic though, but we got to see. BE, Bloom Energy, that one continuing to get momentum, still up 8% on the day. How did you get the updated colors on Legend? They just gave it to me. So I thought there was a setting that I could fix, but apparently it has to be like updated to your specific account. So I think that's probably rolling out to a lot of people, but I logged in this morning and I got the green and red candles, which I love so much better. If they could just make the whole background black now and keep it completely black, then it would really make the colors pop out, which I would like to see. Bitfarms, again, this one becoming a data center play. That's up another 5%. I've done zero research on this, but if I had to bet, this one is like a smaller version of IREN. Now, is it going to have the move that IREN made? I don't know. But it definitely is acting like it can make that move. And you got a lot of investors that are excited about it. The volume on this one is, let's see, Bitfarm volume, BMNR volume about 14 million, Bitfarm value 45 million. So people are trading it. And then Grab still at 23 million an hour into the day, even at 597. So you are seeing that volume continue to increase across a bunch of these names. Bank of America's September survey shows 67% of fund managers hold no crypto. Only small fractions allocate 2%, 3%, 4%, or 8%. The average allocation is just 0.4%. Well, to me, see, that's an opportunity. If most of these fund managers don't have a ton of crypto, I think that's kind of what Tom Lee's been trying to do, is educate them on the benefits of Ethereum and the progress and all that stuff. I mean, that could be one of the broader arguments for the adoption of crypto. The ETFs are still going crazy on Bitcoin and Ethereum to the tune of a couple billion a month. So maybe that's where some of the alpha may lie. Oh, we got some news on Lilly. Apparently, they are investing some money pretty soon. Let's take a look at this.
specialize in making active pharmaceutical ingredients and drug product for Lilly's cancer and autoimmune disease medicines, as well as other advanced therapies. So the new factory will give Lilly the ability to make targeted chemotherapies or antibody drug conjugates for the first time. And the goal here is twofold.
The reason they're doing this is because of Trump doubling down on pharmaceutical tariffs. So Eli Lilly unveils plans for a $5 billion manufacturing facility. This is probably to get Trump to not be that aggressive with the pharma tariffs.
Creating new manufacturing capacity and bringing more of that manufacturing work in-house. Lilly CEO Dave Ricks telling me that during the pandemic, when Lilly was making large amounts of monoclonal antibodies, the company decided that it wanted to control more of its manufacturing supply, and the lower U.S. tax rate helped entice Lilly to do that here in the U.S.
We went 40 years without building an API site in the U.S. because corporate tax rates were at 35% and they were as low as 50%. And it's our responsibility to produce income for our shareholders, to locate API facilities elsewhere. When we had the Tax Cut and Job Act originally, and now the new permanent 21% base rate tax rate, now that difference is marginal, and it makes more sense to build in the U.S. than ever before.
Remember, back in February, Lilly announced that it would spend $27 billion on these 4 new sites, bringing its total manufacturing investments to $50 billion since 2020. And this might take a little less time than the industry standard of about 5 years, since the land has already been.
All right, so Eli Lilly getting into pharmaceutical investments, and they probably have to because, you know, Trump really wants us to make our drugs in the United States, which I think it makes sense. I mean, if we got into a war with China and we couldn't make our drugs, like that would not be a good thing. So some actions being taken on that front is not horrible. Trade desk right here up about 1.43%. Again, Hoodie toying with us, gets over 116, then falls back down to 114. We'll see if this time it can hold. Grab trying to get back to 6. SoFi trying to get back to 27. Maybe 1030 dumps done, and that's our intraday bottom. And we're moving up. Maybe. But we are seeing some green candles across the board. Costco, is that still at 950? That is at 952. That one is down a little bit. Osiris, thank you for the $100 super chat. I do have an air fryer already. What's funny about this is we had some at Papa John's, and it was late at night, and I was like, Arnie, do you want me to heat up some pizza for you? And he was like, sure. And so I took the pizza, put it on a plate, and I went to the microwave. And Arnie was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm heating up the pizza. He's like, I know, eat the pizza from the microwave. What's wrong with you? And I was like, what do you want me? He's like, put it in the air fryer. I was like, oh, okay, my bad. So I put it in the air fryer for him. And let's just say he didn't enjoy Papa John's air fried pizza as much as Italian pizza. But yeah, I'm the type of guy that puts it in a microwave, bro. I'm really simple. I'm not that complicated. But thank you for the super chat. I do have an air fryer. I just need to use it more often. Dude, my Arnie impersonation is actually not that bad. I have a better Arnie accent than I have an Indian accent. Like, my Indian accent is so god-awful, and I'm not going to do it no matter how much you guys ask, because I did it once on stream. I think I did it in like 2023. I don't know where that stream is, but I did it. It was so embarrassing because it's so bad. Like, genuinely so, like, it's just like, I'm like ashamed to even say I'm Indian with that accent, dude. It was so bad. But my Arnie accent, I feel like, is way better. Or at least I think it has some legs to stand on. Google still 250, Palantir 170. Broader S&P being flat. Ricardo says, I remember that day. Some of you guys were there. It was not good. It was not good at all. Leave it to a minute to give Papa John's and Popeyes to an Italian. Okay, but they wanted to taste American food. So I had to give it to them. Baba, by the way, speaking of China, is pumping 160.64. I mean, this thing has been through the gutter for the past couple of years, but it was at 80 in January. It's basically done a double since then. So you have had some emerging markets starting to get some more momentum. Are we at 117 on Hood? Did we get there? Oh, we're so close. We got to 116.99. I don't trust it, bro. Like it's just every day it's $3 to $4 range. It's not really building on its momentum. So I don't know. I mean, I could see HUD easily going back down to 114 again, but it'd be nice to break above that 117. Are markets shifting from US to China? I don't think so. I think it's an everything rally, bro. Gold is up, silver is up, stocks are up, bonds are down, which is great, right? Or yields are down. China's up. Emerging markets like Grab and Nubank, they're like, I just think it's everything. Everyone's happy we're getting a rate cut, hopefully for now. And Baba's been putting up good earnings. Grab's been putting up great earnings. Tesla's not been putting up good earnings, but it's Tesla. Nvidia's been putting up good earnings. Pound, like all these companies have been putting up good. SoFi is phenomenal earnings, right? 40% revenue growth. Google, incredible earnings. The earnings picture is there along with the rate cut backdrop. And so now you just have to expect if there's more money willing to be allocated. And then, by the way, there's still $7.3 trillion on the sidelines in money market funds. So there's still money that's out there that has not been allocated into equities. And obviously, if that money does get allocated, that would be pretty exciting. By the way, this was a chart I showed yesterday on the market close. Take a look at this. This is the S&P 500 without NVIDIA. If we don't have NVIDIA in the S&P 500, it underperforms Europe and Japan. It underperforms Europe and Japan, which is kind of crazy. So, I mean, NVIDIA has played a massive role in the broader S&P 500, but we got to see if that, can continue with NVIDIA's momentum. HIMS is tanking, folks. Why is HIMS down 8.8%? What news from the FDA or Novo came out? There's got to be something here. Honestly, I might buy the dip today on HIMS because I have not increased from my 700 shares. FDA issues warning letter to HIMS and HERS. Okay, but what's the warning about? At the same time, 117. Thank you, Hoodie. We got it. 117.17. Maybe there's some actual momentum on this one. 117 on Hood. What did the FDA say to HIMS? What's going on? What is this letter? HIMS right here, 7.5. Already a little recovery. It was down even worse than this at 48. So we got to see if this continues. It's just a letter. No one knows what the letter says. The headline is just FDA issues letter to HIMS. Another headline says FDA issues letters to HIMS and HERS Health on website claims. I guess they're issuing a letter to not misrepresent what's on their website. FDA commissioner wrote in the medical journal that the telehealth provider Super Bowl commercial broke federal standards. Oh shit. They previewed their Super Bowl commercial and said you can't do it. Holy crap, dude. What? I didn't even know the FDA had to review the Super Bowl commercials. I mean, that makes sense because it's a drug product that they're advertising. Dude, that's wild. So they said your Super Bowl commercial is misleading. HIMS right here at 49. Again, it was at 48, so it's not tanking below that intraday low so far. FDA claims that HIMS is false and misleading, and the products are misbranded as per the website. Okay, I think that's kind of stupid, to be honest. I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world, but wait, the commercial, this is for last year's commercial? Dude, if this was from last year, I thought it was something about the upcoming February 2026 Super Bowl. Oh, this is stupid, bro. This is dumb. This is someone at the FDA board, and they need something to do today. This is not. I don't think this is that serious. Robin, it's still holding 117. Yeah, I don't think anyone. Yeah, early this year. Okay, so what? HIMS is gonna have to pay a little bit of a parking ticket, potentially. I don't know. That seems. Yeah, it seems like Novo called their boys at the FDA and got some things done, bro. Dude, to single out HIMS when there's been millions of pharmaceutical commercials over the past 10 years, and I would say a decent chunk of them have probably been not the most accurate. Like, I just think the FDA doesn't love the compounder stuff that HIMS is doing, and that's fine, but I don't know if that's the massive bear case. Yeah, and it's not even a parking ticket, it's just a warning too. So they just have to make sure their next commercial is not as bad. That's really a nothing burger, dude. Like they just have to make sure their next commercial is not quote unquote misinformation or whatever, or misbranded. And then they should be okay. Tesla back above 420. Tesla back above 420. 421. Yo, put in the chat if you are a heavy Tesla. Like if like a sizable amount of your net worth is in Tesla. Let's do a poll right here. By the way, 64% of you said green on FOMC. Let's do poll. Are you heavy Tesla? It's a yes or no. If you're heavy, you know what heavy means. If you're not heavy, like I would say no. My answer is no. But I'm curious how much of the chat is like heavy Tessie. And heavy is obviously subjective based on your portfolio. What do I consider heavy? I mean, obviously it's based on your own portfolio, but I would say like, I don't know, it's different for other people, but like for me, like 20% of the port I think would be pretty heavy. Even 10% to me is heavy. Under 10% is not as heavy. But then again, if you have a massive portfolio and 10% is a massive dollar amount, then maybe that is heavy, or 5% is a massive. So I don't know. You either know it or you don't, right? You either know if Tesla goes up $10, it really hurts you, or if it goes down $10, or it goes up $10, it really helps you. It goes down $10, it really hurts you. And that's how I would judge it. Hoodie right there, 117.20. I'll check 118 resistance in a second. Wow, 42% of you say you're heavy Tesla. That's a pretty strong amount. 42% of you are heavy in Tesla. Wow, so 42% of you must roll your eyes when you hear Chris on the stream saying I'm waiting for Tesla to go back to 200. Or Steve. Dude, when Steve came out with that take, like after the whole Epstein thing, I was like, Steve, I get it. The Epstein thing is not good, but this thing is not going back to like 150, 200. Like it's just, especially after we're recovered back to like 290 from 270. That's why I bought in. I was like, all right, so the market's moved on. Like Elon can say whatever he wants and the market doesn't care. I just find it very hard to believe they would let this bad boy dip that far down. And the amount of buyers that would be there. Dude, if this falls back to 350, the amount of buyers that are going to be there. Once it has momentum, it has momentum. It's hard to see it getting hit. Google today announced a almost $7 billion investment into the United Kingdom's AI development. Okay, so we knew a lot of these investments were coming from the United States in the UK. That's why Trump is going there today. So that's great. $7 billion investment into the UK. Also, Google just reported YouTube paid out more than $100 billion to creators since the start of 2021. Wow. Not bad. YouTube is one of the only platforms that has actually like become a livable for creators. But that just speaks to YouTube's moat. Like what other platform is going to pay out $100 billion? Like, I mean, YouTube itself, one could argue, is $1 trillion company. So pretty incredible to see some of that news as well. Yeah, 45, almost, what's the point now? 40%. 40% of you guys are bullish or heavy Tesla. See, look, Robinhood got to 117.30, now back to 117, now it's at 117.15. Like, it is just so volatile over the past couple of days within these like 10-cent increments. And it's not really making a trend yet. I'm not complaining about it, but I do think the breakout, I mean, it broke out to 120 twice. I feel like the breakout is inevitable back to 120. It's just a question of like when I can get there. Yeah, $1 billion out of that 100 went to me, exactly. And then YouTube takes 50% of it once they give it to you. 99 billion of that was paid to Mr. Beast, exactly. Does anyone here actually watch Mr. Beast videos? Like I turned on one of those the other day where it's like you stuck with your ex for like 250,000. And like, it was kind of just in the background, but in general, I find it hard to watch his content because it's so sensational. It's like exciting sometimes, but it's just like so like, don't like if your finger leaves this car, you lose the challenge or something like stuff like that. I don't know, dude. It's hard to watch it. It's just hard to watch him give out hundreds of thousands of dollars to people to like do random shit. It's entertaining for sure, which is why it gets hundreds of millions of views. But to like sit through it and watch is a little tough. App 11 right there, 593. Enphase 39.27. Nubank 1591, trying to get back to 16, and then IBKR 62. Delo, Tanner's buying Delo. Is there a thesis here, guys? Is Tanner right about this thing? I haven't heard his video. Yeah, most of you guys saying no. You don't watch Mr. Beast. But is Tanner right? Is D-Local going to be a big name? Why is UNH down? I don't know. There was a couple things that came out yesterday around the healthcare industry in general. UNH right here down 3%. Maybe giving back a little bit of the gains that it had last week after going up 15%. But that one is down 2.3. Couch made a video about D-Lo 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago. Now Tanner, Tess says she's in D-Lo. D-Lo's fantastic. Oh, a lot of you guys like D-Lo. I think it's up year to date too, right? D-Lo, it's up like 30%. It's up 25%. Do we do some DD on this? Do we look into it? Maybe we do. It's in Latin America, right? If I'm not wrong. No. Wait, yes. I think it is. It's not an American company, but I think they're in the financial services space. Cross-border payments. Okay, yeah. So that's why Tanner likes it. It's fintech. Okay. Take a look. Take a look and see. Grab right there, $5.99. Google holding $2.50. Uruguay. Did I say that correctly? Did I say that correctly? We're going to see right now. I said Uruguay. Let's see.
Uruguay.
Let's freaking go, baby. Let's freaking go. This is why you don't need Duolingo. This is why you don't need Duolingo. Now, I could have said Uruguay. And I could have fed into the allegations. I could have done that. But that would have been so predictable. And I'm not predictable. I'm original. I'm creative, okay? Like when I troll you guys on a Metallica, it's creative. Not something that you would expect. So I'm proud of myself on that one. Genuinely, I'm proud of myself on that one. Yeah, I have no idea what D-Lo does, dude. I'll watch Tanner's video on it and get his take. But I have literally no idea. Informed viewer, thank you for the $50 super chat. If you think Powell announces a rate cut tomorrow, are you better to roll off sold puts before or after the rate cut? Okay, so this is a good question. So let's say you have sold puts on Robinhood at like 114, and Powell announces the rate cut. The problem with rolling these here is like if the market tanks, Robinhood's probably going below 114, right? So then your puts are in the money. If the market goes to the moon, then rolling it doesn't make sense because you're going to be up so much on the puts. If Robinhood goes to like 120 tomorrow or something, that your 114s are out of the money. So you have to ask yourself, do you think the rate cut is going to be a sell the news event or a I don't think it's a buy the news event, or I think it's more like a stabilizing markets event. Maybe it ends up being a buy the news. And that's a subjective question at the end of the day. If I were you and I had like a 114 put or something, I would leave it. And then if Robinhood tanks, I would just roll the put after it tanks, right? And try to give myself some more time because I do think the recovery, like if I have a 114 put and Robinhood gets the 110, I think they'll probably be back at 114 pretty easily. And Robinhood's a unique situation because obviously there's a S&P 500 kind of put there. But you have to ask yourself, does if you have puts on Google at 248 and Google just got over 250, like I wouldn't be comfortable holding those puts, selling those puts because Google could easily come back below 245 and like no one would stress about it because Google's up from 150. So I think it's specific on the price action of the stock you've sold puts on, but obviously it also depends on is it going to be a sell the news or not? And I would hope it's not a sell the news tomorrow. But I don't think we're getting 50, bro. People saying 50 we're not getting 50, bro. We're not getting 50. Amit self-congratulating himself for being unpredictable is so predictable. Okay, that's funny. That's really funny. See, this is what I missed. I missed these comments over the past 2 weeks. because that is legit hilarious. Like, actually. Austin sent a link. This is how you pronounce Sundar. Okay, let's see.
This is how we pronounce the name Sundar.
Oh, he's right. What is this music in the background, bro? What is this? It is Sundar. It's not Sundar. Dude, I've been saying it like such an American. It's absolutely the way he said it, not the way I say it.
Sundar. Sundar.
Yeah, it's Sundar, not Sundar. But like Sundar is how you say it. It's Sundar. At least that's how I tend to say it. It means beautiful. Yeah, it does mean beautiful. It means beautiful in Hindi. That's correct. Well, Google stock price is pretty damn beautiful now. Pretty damn beautiful at 250. Him's House posted the letter. Okay, let's see. The fact that it's just a warning, bro, to me makes this genuinely a nothing burger. Like, who cares? Mr. Dudham, this letter is to advise you that the US FDA reviewed your website content, has observed that your website offers various compounded drug products. As described below, your claims concerning your compounded products are false or misleading. The following claims concerning your compounded products appear on your website. Same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy, clinically proven ingredients. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved. Your claims imply that your products are the same as FDA approved product when they are not. As a result, these claims are false or misleading. Okay. You should take immediate action to address any violations within 15 working days of this letter. So basically, they're going to try to either change the website or change the advertising in the commercials based on the website. And I guess it's just not that big of a deal. Hims, AMD at 160. Hims, yeah, recovering back to 50 from 48. Dude, but Hims every day or every week, there's some random thing that takes this down 7% or up 7%. Remember the day we were live, it went up to 65, then came down to 53. That's the day I bought it. It went from 50 to 65, then back to 53. So volatility is part of owning this name. CoreWeave, by the way, also going red. CoreWeave was at 125. Now it's at 116. So that one is down. It's grab back above 6, grab 596, Google 251. And then S&P still red on the day, just below 660. There you go. That's some of the price action that we got right now. It was peaceful. Yes, it was peaceful music. That is Sundar. That is correct. Dude, I got to interview Sundar one day. I feel like maybe I could get him to do an interview. Powell speaking at 2:30 tomorrow, not after market close. We're gonna go from FOMC into the market close, but it'll be at 2:30. 2:30 tomorrow. My hair consultant is meeting with me in 8 days, September 24th. So yeah, I'll be meeting with the hair consultant soon, seeing what we do with my hair. And we'll keep going from there. Yeah, it's a legit hair consultant. Bro, I told you guys I want to get a consultant to see what I can do with my hair. I already have a bunch of ideas, but I want to get like a professional opinion. I don't even know how much it's going to cost me, bro. This is like, I don't even like, what does a hair consultant charge? Like, what do you even pay for this shit? So I don't know, but hopefully it's not too bad. IO and Q CEO, that one has been making a little bit of a move as well. He was on Bloomberg this morning. Here's what he had to say about compute. It's a pretty aggressive claim he's making about NVIDIA as well.
Maybe even 2 million qubits in 2030. And that will allow us to solve problems that classical GPUs couldn't even solve if they had the known age of the universe to try and compute it.
So the Blackwell chip is going to look aged and dated in that scenario in the 2030s when you've got millions of QPUs.
It's going to look dated a lot sooner than that. I think by 7, we'll have 10,000 qubits in our chip in partnership with our new friends at Oxford Ionics. And honestly, that will wipe the floor, if you will, with any other supercomputer that exists on Earth.
Well, you talked about, dude, he's saying by 2027, quantum computing will surpass NVIDIA graphic processor unit computing, aka GPUs. That is an aggressive claim. By 2027, any form of supercomputers will be subpar to quantum. I don't know if I for a CEO to make that's 2 years from now, less than 2 years from now, dude. IONQ stock is down about 1% of the day, but it's up over the past weeks by about 25%. That's a bit aggressive. Jensen said it would take 30 years. Yeah, I mean, Jensen said, I mean, even Nadella said it's going to take some time. Zuckerberg said it's going to take some time. They're acknowledging quantum's a thing. They're just saying it's going to take time. But this guy's saying in 2 years it's happening. Yeah, I don't know, bro. If quantum's replacing GPUs, then IONQ is the best buy in the market, and you should sell all your NVIDIA like immediately. I don't know if that's going to play out. It's a hell of a claim, bro. For him to make that claim publicly, I don't know. See, even investing in CEOs that do that stuff, it's just weird, but that's like a little too aggressive. Like, you can be ambitious and freaking, you know, arrogant, but like then saying like, hey, quantum will erase the need for GPUs in 2 years. I don't know. I think that's a bit aggressive. A bit too aggressive. Here's what the UBS analysts are saying about the Fed meeting tomorrow, and let's get some of their thoughts on where they think the S&P will react.
It's going to be difficult, very difficult for them to meet how much rate easing is being priced. So there's 150 basis points of easing, more or less, priced by the end of next year. And the Fed is saying right now, ahead of Wednesday, that they're only going to get to those levels a few years from now. They'll nudge that down a little bit, you know, the 2026, 2027 numbers, but maybe not enough that the market will be satisfied with.
Where's UBS stand on the number of cuts this year?
So we're thinking there's going to be 75 basis points. So we'll get in the next 3 meetings 25 each.
What is the biggest question in your mind as to why the Fed won't cut more?
Yeah, I mean, as in cut more aggressively this year?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, clearly inflation still an issue, and as much as the labor market risks have significantly increased, you do have a number of Federal Reserve presidents, particularly the regional Fed presidents, who were quite hawkish and, you know, didn't want to cut much at all. And so it's going to be as much as Powell wants to be easing, and I do believe he wants to be easing. It's going to take a lot to get the rest of the committee to really go all the way as much as I think he would want to ease.
They made it pretty clear in Wyoming that inflation had been taken over by the labor market. Labor market was a bigger concern. Unemployment rate, where does it get to where the alarm bells start going off? Because at 4.3, nobody seems to really care.
Yeah, I mean, they have about 4.5 for their year-end forecast, which I think is a reasonable amount of further labor market slack being created. I think it's more about the speed of the move. Like we're moving gradually. We're moving pretty slowly. It was an 8 basis points rise in the unemployment rate last month. If we start moving, you know, faster, and I think before you see in the unemployment rate, you'll see in initial jobless claims. We have not really seen that spike, and so that's what we're watching really carefully.
When you look at,
he's right about that. Again, we haven't seen that spike. When we see that spike, things will change. But until we do, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, why do we need to be so worried about rate cuts? Like all the bears that are saying the rate cuts are bearish. It's like, well, you haven't seen the spike in unemployment that would cause rate cuts to be massively bearish. And until we see that, I don't know if that's the worst thing in the world. At least not yet. Let's get an update on some of the JOLTS data and retail sales data. But as of now, jobs data is not as horrendous to get that afraid of these rate cuts.
Behind. So I think that CapEx spend is a little bit of a stimulus in the market, certainly for tech stocks in the Mag 7, which we've seen come up 50% since the lows in April. So the economy seems strong. The market is certainly strong, but we are seeing signs of slowing, not concerning. We're seeing signs of a weakening labor market, which is really what I think the Fed is telling us. The most recent JOLTS numbers suggest that there are more people looking for jobs than there are jobs available. The labor market's weakening on supply and demand side. I mean, companies are not firing, but they're not hiring. Our jobs added is significantly lower than it was 12 months ago. So when you look at the unemployment number, 4.6%, in terms of a historical context, that's still a very low number. But if it's on the rise, that's something that the Fed needs to focus on.
IWM is definitely beating the S&P for the quarter to date. Would you stick with that, assuming we get at least a rate cut tomorrow?
I think we're going to get a rate cut tomorrow. And yeah, I think, look, we believe in broad-based diversification within your portfolio, but the S&P is driven right now and has been for 2.5 years by this bundle of 7 securities, and we just don't see that falling away. So we're mindful of the valuations. We're mindful of the unintended consequence that a 70% cumulative market has given us over the last 2.5 years. It's great because the market's up 70%, but client portfolios, as we've discussed before, have unintended risk through overexposure. So there's also some uncertainties that we don't know about. We've been talking about the trade talks with China. Secretary Bessent was on this morning talking about that. There's a lot of geopolitical risks. Tariffs are at 10%, but once these pauses end, they're going to go up to around 18%. Now, no one knows when the pause is going
or
to
if they're
end.
legal.
I mean, just a few tidbits to sort out here.
Right.
But there are some uncertainties. So we think the market's going to continue to rise, but we are cognizant of the risks. So we are neutral in our allocation, an overweight to small caps, which we've been talking about, which is disappointed up until August. But in August, the Russell 2000 beat the S&P by 3 times for the month.
You've also liked equities outside the U.S., which has been a winning trade so far this year. Does that continue?
Yeah, international is up over 20%, both developed and emerging market equities. We expect that to continue. Look, international has a long way to go to catch up to the U.S. They've underperformed for 15 years. So I think there's finally a recognition that there are very strong, healthy companies that are at a much more attractive valuation than we can find in the United States. And back to small caps, in an environment where we're expecting rates to come down, and consensus in the market is that there'll be a 25 basis point cut at each of the next 3 Fed meetings this year. That is a good environment for small caps. So neutral equity exposure broadly with a little bit of an overweight in the small cap space.
Kind of similar to Tom Lee's thesis, who's a bit more overweight on small caps right now. I mean, really, it is just a fundamental. We're going to find out tomorrow. The waiting is done. We will find out, does the market say we're going to lean in to the risk on with the rate cut? Or are we going to be afraid that the rate cut is a sign of a much stronger or a much more anticipated weakening of the economy, and we should lean out? And I just genuinely, my takeaway is I don't think anyone's selling NVIDIA if the economy gets a little weaker and the rate cut is perceived as not the best thing. And my gut reaction is that the rate cut is going to be, the rate cut's already baked in, probably have 2 rate cuts baked in. Equities don't have to fall on the rate cut. And the market leans into risk on because there's a lot of money on the sidelines that's been collecting a juicy 5% for the past couple of years. And now that money's going to have to take a little bit of risk, even if it's just buying the S&P and not buying an individual name, to get some alpha. And it's not like that's the craziest idea in the world. And if it's not the equity markets, maybe it's gold. Maybe it's more real estate investments. Maybe for some of the people that are super risk on, it's more Ethereum and Bitcoin. But I think it's going to be more bullish than not. And a lot of that comes from my belief that that money needs a home. And that money is likely not going to stay too stable. Also from the fact that, again, these companies are putting up the best earnings that we've ever seen. These earnings are objectively, in the history of the stock market, the best earnings that we've seen from large cap companies. Dot-com bubble had nothing comparable to the types of reports that these companies are putting up. And if AI is the tailwind that allows them to keep doing it, then I think we keep winning. My concern is that multiple compression can still happen even as earnings grow. Yeah, and quite like so. I would hope that it's multiple stabilization versus compression, so then the earnings really allow the company to grow into its multiple. But the compression would have to happen through a like macroeconomic and or narrative shifting theme in either the broader markets or in that company, even if the earnings are good. And so that begs the question, like, is there something super macro that could get multiples to compress? I don't see that yet. And is there a break to the sort of broader narrative that's holding up this market, which is AI, that could get multiples to compress? I don't see that either. All I see is evidence that it's going up and to the right. And so I guess we're just going to have to see if the market's willing to give NVIDIA a $200 price, or if they're going to keep it stuck in the 170s. But I think tomorrow's not going to be too bad with these rate cuts. So we're going to see. We're going to see how this ends up all playing out. All right, folks, I think that is it for me. We are done for the market open today. We'll be back with the market close as usual. We do have Technical Tuesday today. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to text Jason right now and confirm. But most likely we will have Technical Tuesday. And yeah, we will continue that. And then tomorrow, after the open, we have the FOMC meeting, which is going to be a big deal. And that one will transition us into the market close. I'm not buying more BMNR. Again, I already have a position. I said yesterday I have 6,000 shares, so I'm in it, and likely will not be adding to the position anymore, unless it gets like into the low 40s again. But yeah, my position is set, and probably not adding that much more to it. Word of the day. All right, let's do it. We haven't had a proper word of the day in a long time. What is this shit? All right. Mazurka? Mazurka? Is that it? Is that it?
Mazurka.
Wow, bro. 2 for 2. 2 for 2 today. A lively Polish dance with a moderately quick triple meter. They ended the concert with a lively mazurka that brought the crowd to its feet. Janice composed a modern piece inspired by the rhythm of a mazurka. Who's Polish in the chat? Oh, I've seen this video before, or I've seen this types of dance before. It's this stuff. It's this stuff. There you go. Mazurka. All right, cool. Hopefully after Powell cuts, we'll all be dancing in a mazurka, and these equities should be doing not too bad. Salesforce investing $6 billion in the UK through 2030. All right, there you go. More UK deals. And we saw Google today investing $6 billion as well, or $6.9 billion in the UK. So definitely a lot of investments coming to the UK from some of these tech companies, which is a good thing for the United Kingdom. All right, folks, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Bitfarms is up 13%. Not too bad. Again, we'll do a little bit more research on them, but they are transitioning from a Bitcoin miner to a data center play, which is going well for them. We'll be back on the close. Likely we'll have Technical Tuesday, and then tomorrow we got FOMC. And we'll see where that goes from there. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.